quickly into space. Concepcion, blockers in front, and here he goes. KC says TD.
This is 365 Sports.
Final 30 seconds of the quarter. Second down throw to the end zone. Douglas. Touchdown, Texas Tech. What a drive.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Sorsby the key with a cut. Broken ankles. See ya.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Another first down for Vandy. Pressure off the edge. He steps up, and now he's going to run for the end zone and score. Diego Pavia.
Remember when you had a guy, someone who could fix anything? They're still out there at Batteries Plus. With their quick solutions and expert advice on batteries, key fobs, and phone repair, Batteries Plus will have you in and out and on your way in no time. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
Brown takes another shot. Wide open Koger. Touchdown, South Florida. 63 yards.
Now here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is another week of college football, another week to look back at what happened, the results. The college football playoff is now in the quarterfinal round. We'll look at that as we go the next 2.5, 3 hours, as we have a lot to chew on from results from the first round, the games that were close, the games that were not, and many things in between, coaching changes and player portal, and even looking at the college football playoff in general. Craig Smoak here with me. Merry Christmas, happy holidays for the week of. We'll be here full throttle today and also tomorrow. Emma Rodriguez, the wife of Texas Tech award-winning linebacker Jacob Rodriguez, will join us today at 3:30, a Blackhawk helicopter pilot. And then also today, Phil Bennett at 5 o'clock, looking back at the games that we saw this past weekend. He was in College Station at Kyle Field for the win of Miami against the Aggies. Craig, good afternoon. I was able to watch every game for the most part. Yeah, a couple of them got away, so I wasn't as, focused in on them. But we will look at each game in a second with nuggets about each one. What did you take out of the first weekend?
Well, what's up, everybody? Glad to be here for another week, even though it'll be a little bit shorter week. And so I appreciate you all. Please do that, like and subscribe if you're with us for the first time, or maybe you've been around and haven't done so. But regardless, appreciate you being with us. What's up to chat? And, I guess I'm left with just a whole lot of bitching is really what I took away from the first round of the playoffs. I mean, there were a couple of really fun, competitive games, and really enjoyed those two games that turned out to be some fights of different varieties. One, obviously, a come from behind and shootout style game, and then the other just an old school who can score more than once type of a football game down in College Station. And then there were two absolute worst case scenarios for the group of five teams in those particular matchups. And so by the middle of Saturday, and certainly by the end of Saturday, instead of talking about how fun the first round was, or even still talking about the night before and how great Alabama-Oklahoma was, or how Miami and A&M was so competitive, all the last 48 hours is just bitching about the playoff, about the format, about the teams involved, about the future, about really anything and everything. And so I enjoyed the football that we got, and I didn't enjoy some of the rest that we got because it was not competitive, and we'll talk about that, and we'll drill down on that and give our own thoughts on that. But I'm left feeling the way that I felt after the selection show on Sunday. I love this sport. It's not the sport that I loved 5 years ago. I'm having to evolve with it, and I'm not guaranteeing that I'm going to love every element of it or that I'm going to continue to be as diehard of a fan 5-10 years from now as I am right now, depending on what direction that they go. But I still love it, and it's still my favorite, even if it's a little bit unrecognizable. And I just absolutely hate, going back to my Selection Sunday discussion, that after what should be a big weekend and an incredibly entertaining and fun weekend, What are we talking about on Monday and all day Sunday? The bitching and the moaning and the whining and the complaining and not that there isn't some just deserved whining. I just think it sucks for the sport that instead of talking about how fun this weekend was, and it was fun a couple of games in, that we are mostly talking about just the continuous mess of it all. And that includes not only the whole format of the playoff and who's involved and who's not, but also just all the other extracurricular stuff that's going on as well. So I know it was a very newsy weekend. That's kind of a long-winded answer, but I hope you understand where I'm coming from. I do. I think it sucks that we talk about how much things suck as opposed to how fun things actually are.
We're going to change something, Brandon, just for a second, if you don't mind. Go to the one that is from TB Horka that showed the score early in the game between Oklahoma and Alabama. I think it's about the fourth or fifth one that we had listed. There it is. He covers Notre Dame. This is where we are now. You have these games start. The very first game on Friday night, which ended up being a great football game, in my opinion. Alabama is getting steamrolled by Oklahoma, booed by its home fans the last two regular season games in Norman. This is the Crimson Tide team the football playoff committee decided was more deserving of a spot in the field than Notre Dame. It was 17-0. It was in the first half. And there was a landslide. And a lot of people, national writers or not, a lot of people were like, this is ridiculous. They shouldn't be in. There's the final score because we react so quickly to everything rather than sometimes watching it play out.
Yeah, I mean, I could go without seeing that dude's tweets for a little while because every time I've seen him as of late, it's been bitching about Notre Dame, and I could really go without seeing that for a little while. And he turned out to be absolutely wrong. I think like the last time I saw him pop off like that, might be a really nice guy. I don't know. I'm just saying I don't think we need to give him any more of a platform than he already has.
It's not him. It's what
he
said.
No, I know. I'm just saying that like in general, I've seen his tweets a couple times now, and both times they just completely missed the mark, much like this one did because, yeah, you saw what the final score ended up being. And this isn't what I'm referring to at all. I'm referring more to the conversation about the scheduling and the G5s and how all that played out. But, yeah, there was a lot of hand-wringing on Friday night and a lot of, typical social media behavior. So I'm not going to sit here and try to police it and tell people, well, don't react in the moment as things are happening. But there were a lot of people with egg on their face as that game started to go a different direction, and a lot of hemming and hawing that looked just kind of ridiculous 2 hours after the hemming and hawing, but it's also a real-time reaction to something. So, yeah, there's a lot of people who were going to jump all over Alabama and felt probably like they had total room to do so without really having to worry about what actually ended up happening, and they ate some crow, but it doesn't really matter on social media because nothing anybody says matters. So that same dude and the same people who were bitching and moaning, an hour later they were going the different direction and finding something else to go about. But yeah, on Friday night it was very interesting to see just all of the Alabama slander, and then by the end of the night, boom, here we are. The problem is that there was followed up by a game the following day that was much different variety, and then two games that took up most of the day where you did say something in the first quarter, and that was still the same in the second, the third, and the fourth. And in fact, it only got worse as the game went on. And so the taste that we were left with in our mouth by the end of it was, wow, Friday night was incredible. Saturday morning was competitive, maybe not the most interesting game for some people. And then the bulk of Saturday and what left you into the rest of the weekend was just all of the hand-wringing over the two blowouts.
They were what people thought they might be, or who was it? They are who we thought they were, but with what happened to Lane and James Madison. We're going to break that down, too. Let's start with Miami and A&M. What a game it was, and a game that was low-scoring where the field goal kicking was awful. Two teams that could not do anything. Two really good defensive teams. And then in the end, it was like hair on fire because Miami scored. Their running back, Mark Fletcher, was fantastic. He reminded me of Najee Davenport. Remember him, who was a same height, about 20 pounds heavier, who was a hammer, had the big long run that set up the Miami touchdown to take the lead. Marcel Reed, his last two games, the one in Austin and the one at home against Notre Dame, were, the last one at home in the loss to Miami, very much bad memories for him, and it's got to be a scar for him and how he recovers. It was 11-0 A&M, 11-0, and they could not keep from blanking the bet and they lost to two good teams, but what a disappointing finish for a team that was highly ranked. And then you start to break down their schedule, as a lot of people did throughout the year once they got to be 8-0 and 9-0, whatever. Bottom line is they failed the test by losing their last two games.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question to pose on whether you're satisfied as an A&M fan or not. And I think making your first playoff trip, you probably are. Hosting a playoff game and having an electric crowd, you probably feel great about that. But I would feel like there was a lot left on the table if I was A&M, given where you were at the beginning of the season and how in control you seemed to be, and then just how just not good you looked, particularly at the quarterback position offensively the last stretch run against the biggest opponents on your schedule when it came to importance. A&M and Texas, obviously the biggest game on their schedule, just completely let that one get away from them, and wasn't all that surprising or shocking because it just feels like Texas kind of has their number, but still you didn't love the way that Marcel Reed played in that game, seemed very nervous and just kind of like the atmosphere got to him. And you wondered when they turned around and played again, which unfortunately for them wasn't in an SEC championship game, but instead was in this first round playoff game. You're at least at home. You got a great Miami defense coming in, veteran quarterback, all that. You knew it'd be a really tough test. And then, Marcel Reed, just a really bad ending to the season. Really disappointing finish, I think, for A&M. I think the majority of their fan base will feel like this was still a win because it's early on in the Elko era, and they did make positive strides, like hosting a playoff game, like getting to the playoffs. So they did accomplish some new things. But where you felt like you were just a few weeks ago, I think you were thinking – not just making the playoffs, you were thinking playing for the SEC title. You were thinking winning an SEC title. You were thinking first round bye in the playoffs. You were thinking about beating Texas. You were thinking about winning a playoff game. You were thinking about competing for a national championship. And it turns out you did none of those things, like not a single one of those things. You didn't beat Texas. You did host a playoff game. So if that was on the checklist, then that counts. So, yeah, I think awfully disappointing. Miami's defense, was highly lauded coming into this game, and they flexed and showed why. And Ruben Bain and company had a lot to say after that game. But, yeah, really interesting contrast to the night before when you had so many points scored and just kind of a wild hair on fire type of game. And this right here was like old school, just Big Ten, points hard to come by. Type of a game, and I guess the wind played into some of the field goal kicking. And
it was a turf war.
Yeah, it was just a turf war, and it was not quite what I expected. I didn't think points were going to be that hard to come by, but then I guess it's not that surprising with these two defenses and how they're set up. But really great win for Miami. Kudos to them. They got that life raft thrown their way, as did the ACC with the playoff selection. And they were a good team that I think you felt like deserved to be in the conversation, but it's just weird how the tiebreakers worked out. So they get thrown a bone, and to their credit, they went and took full advantage of it, and they got a win, and that was absolutely massive for Cristobal and massive for the ACC. And I know that they're heavy dogs to Ohio State in this next round, but that's a huge accomplishment, and I think for A&M, it's a little bittersweet.
Yeah, I think so. Marcel Reed, I once was at a get-together. It's been about it was before the Heisman Trophy, and it was about a week or two before the voting. I was asked about my Heisman vote, and, of course, I couldn't reveal that. I did later. And they asked about where would I have Marcel Reed among my top five, and I said I did not. I haven't voted yet, but I would not. He was 45 of 71 his last two games, 417 yards. He threw 4 interceptions and no touchdowns in the games against UT and also Miami. A bad memory, a scar. They did make progress. They made the playoff. You got to make it the first time, then make it the second time. They did host a playoff game. But where they were and where they ended, a disappointing, perhaps it ended up still being a successful year, but not a year that not even if they would have lost that game 27-24 or something like that, it just seemed like they ended with a thud.
It feels like you took 2 steps forward, and then at the end you took 1 step back. Instead of just feeling like you took 2 or 3 steps forward, and then boom, there you were. It felt like you took a couple steps, and then you had to take another step back there at the end. And so you took a step still. It's just not quite to the degree that you hoped for, expected, and really thought was probably going to be what you would end up doing right there in the middle of the season, even 3 quarters into the season. That last stretch run, they just started to show some signs of cracks and just some vulnerabilities, and I think that showed. And Marcel Reed was at the top of that list. I could not shake the way he played against Texas,
No.
and I said that a couple times last week. It's just like, what version of Marcel Reed shows up? And I think there were times maybe in the year where you felt that he was getting a little bit overblown as far as maybe him in the Heisman conversation or things like that. But there was a time in the season where I feel like that was very deserved. Now you might say, well, look at who they were playing. Okay, if you want to drill down, we can get into the nitty gritty. But like at one point, he was putting up great numbers. They were winning every game they were playing, and they looked really, really good. And he looked really, really good. And then I don't know if it was just the level of competition. I don't know if injuries came into play. I don't know what. But when they needed him to show up the most, he did not show up and play to the level of an elite quarterback. That's something that they're going to have to work on this offseason and hopefully improve upon, because that really bit them in the end.
He looked jittery. He looked over-modulated. Sometimes you can play the game before it starts. It just wasn't quite there. So good year. Could have been a great year. Ended up being a good year. So A&M. The best game of the weekend was Alabama and Oklahoma. By the way, before we move on to that one, I love the tweets. There's one tweet I want to put out because I got questions for the young guys. This is from TAMU Police. It's always funny to watch how they are looking at what's going on in the stadium. MIP Tobacco, Neat, 2 St. Arnold's lawnmowers, a Michelob Ultra, nicotine vape, and pack of Marlboro 100s in the pocket. Citation issued, ejected. What in the hell is 2 St. Arnold's lawnmowers?
I'm pretty sure it's just some kind of beer or some kind of drink. That's all it is.
Right.
Yeah, I don't dabble myself these days, but yeah, I think that's just some kind of a drink, if I remember correctly. So I'm sure chat can help us out there. And then I think the rest is pretty self-explanatory. Mm-hmm. Get off the vape, guys. Get off the vape. But no, I think that they had a busy crowd and had a very fun time and hectic time, I'm sure, there in College Station, because Miami came to play and that crowd was incredible with the mixture of both your Aggies and your Canes. And it seemed like the Canes fans who showed up in College Station had a great time, and it was a great atmosphere. And unfortunately, just not the most entertaining, electric game, certainly. But it was well worth the price if you were a Miami fan that made your way down there. So a great win for them. And yeah, this is a part of the fun of college football that we love and enjoy. But that was about the most fun that the A&M had on Saturday, was this probably police account.
It's a great account to follow during the game. And by the way, Chris Visser, St. Arnold's is a craft brew. So thank you for that. Alabama, they were also questioned. Here is who they have been since 2009 as an underdog. Look at the games in which they were an underdog, and there's only 2 of them in which, or 3 of them, in which they did not win. There's a bunch of underdogs, 6.5 all the way to 1-point underdogs. They usually win. Well, Alabama usually wins anyway. They haven't been flawless. They haven't been perfect. Fell down 17-0. The Mateer pick was absolutely venomous and deadly. And Alabama comes back to win the game and move on to play in the next round of the playoffs. So there's a history of Alabama as an underdog. A couple of other notes about Alabama. Kalen DeBoer is now 3-1 against top 10 teams at Alabama in his 2 years. Past 4 years, including Washington, he's 7-2 against top 10 teams. His teams have come back from behind in 5 of those games. And then this is the one that's got to sting Oklahoma. There have been 2 of the largest comebacks in college football playoff history. Both of them, OU up 17 points against Georgia when they looked so good, and lost, and Alabama against Oklahoma on Friday.
Yeah, it sucks to be a Sooner fan around playoff time, because they cannot win a playoff game to save their life. It doesn't matter when, where, who. They cannot win a playoff game, and it's just a hill they can't seem to climb for whatever reason. Felt great about the start. Obviously, got out huge, and with the home crowd behind you, thought, well, this is their night. They're finally going to go and win a playoff game, and they're going to beat Bama again, and man, on to the next round. I never felt that way when they got up early. I never felt comfortable, because it was just too early to feel comfortable, and it wasn't as though the lead was insurmountable. And as we saw in very quick fashion, it was easily surmountable with just a couple of plays needing to go your way. And yeah, they totally unraveled with mistakes. John Mateer just not the sharpest player in the world. A lot of discussion about his ability or lack thereof to read defenses and just how it leads to a lot of his turnovers or mistakes, or just his risk taking, and how wise or unwise that is at times. I think a combination of all of that, and as well as his injury, at least earlier in the year, played into just the amount of mistakes and things that you saw at some times. But it was a really frustrating game to watch that lead just slip away due to your self-inflicted mistakes, but also what Alabama was able to do. So, you connect on the one big look like touchdown, first down, and you have Mateer throwing on the run and it gets dropped. And you have the pick six, though, that was absolutely massive, that turned the tide. No pun intended there. You had the punt that was just, I still don't know exactly what was going on with the punter, because it wasn't as though Alabama just cut through and they blocked that thing. The punter literally puts it out to kick it and doesn't kick the ball. Yeah. And then there's really no explanation as to why.
He froze.
He completely froze.
Yeah.
He completely went mental for a second, and the nerves of the situation got to him, or something else unexplainable happened. But it was an awful mistake. And then you had the missed field goals. Tate Sandell, a guy who's normally automatic for you, now he's missing kicks at the end of the game when you still have a slight chance. And it was a lot of things went sideways for them. And the warts that they've kind of shown, Mateer turnovers, what's been good for them, the field goal kicking, what's been good, what's been bad, all went kind of bad at the wrong time for them. And credit to Alabama for staying in the fight, not getting down in the dumps when they got down early, just kept plucking away and then made a couple plays, got momentum, and never really looked back, and turned it into a game where by the end of it, you never could have imagined that Oklahoma was leading that game by 3 scores at the beginning. So awful result for OU. You wonder, when can they finally win a playoff game? It was an incredible scene there in Norman, but Alabama rolled in there, and despite all the social media and the barking about DeBoer and this and that, and this isn't Saban anymore, Alabama still reigns supreme at the end. So got to give them their props, and they were a team that was very much on that bubble as far as who deserved to be in the playoff or not. And so now they've proven their worth by winning this first-round game on the road. And just another disappointing end to what was otherwise a really good year for Oklahoma.
2 teams at home, 100,000, 404,000 at A&M, and then, of course, Oklahoma jam-packed as well. Both go down. We will get into the Oregon route of James Madison and also the Ole Miss destruction of Tulane in this show as well. And around 4 o'clock, we're going to look at the news and notes in college football from the coaching carousel, staff changes, and then also the portal, because there's some news on that too. One other note about Alabama, there's a reason why that's who they are. They have, again, they're not flawless, but Simpson was okay. But the one thing I saw about Mateer before, of course, things started going sideways, I thought in the first half he was freaking brilliant. I thought he was that maybe the rest of a week or two allowed him to heal when it came to his hand. I thought he was fantastic. But, he does try to squeeze a basketball through a bullet, through a keyhole at times, and it cost him.
Well, I mean, the pick six, that was an egregious mistake on his part. I mean, who is he throwing to? He threw directly to the defensive back, and even if you go back and look at it, I mean, you're anticipating the wide receiver. Well, they still weren't even on the same page because the wide receiver was still a couple of yards further down the field from where he threw it. So miscommunication or just a bad choice on his part, I don't know. I do think he struggles commanding the quarterback position and all that comes with that. I think sometimes he relies far too much on his athleticism and trying to take risks. And when they pay off, it's a beautiful thing. And when it pays off, it's like the reincarnation of Johnny Football or whatever sometimes. But then there's those moments where the risk doesn't pay off or the decision is super poor, and it really hurts and costs them. And some of his mistakes, it wasn't all on his shoulders by any means. But, he was incredible to start off the game, and he was really bad for the rest of the game for the most part. Credit to Alabama's defense for some of that, or if not a lot of that. But he made some really egregious mistakes. That pick six in particular, just so costly. And then again, the special teams did not help whatsoever. The punt and then the missed field goals, absolutely killers at the worst possible time for Oklahoma. So it was a good season. But it could have been a great season, and they fell short of it being great.
It's different than A&M, though. A&M ended with a thud. Oklahoma lost. They're done. But OU was able to turn the corner from what last year, and you thought they were going to be 6-6 for the next 2 or 3 years. But they got to where they got. They had a good run at the end and beat some good teams along the way. Here are the quarterfinal round matchups, and then we break and come back and talk with Emma Rodriguez, Blackhawk helicopter pilot, Jacob Rodriguez's wife. She'll join us in the next segment. Here are the matchups. The U at the bottom against Ohio State. That's the first game on tap on New Year's Eve. And then you get those 3 in a row. Oregon and Texas Tech. Oregon with that high-flying offense. Not that Tech doesn't put points up, too, against the Texas Tech highly rated number 1 or 2, depending on who you ask, defense in college football. Then Alabama and Indiana in what will be in the Rose Bowl, and then the game, of course, between Ole Miss and Georgia, a rematch of a game between 2 SEC teams. And Georgia, to me, at the end of the year, was playing as well as anybody. Those are the quarterfinal round games. We've got about 8 or 9 days, and then we have the quarterfinal round between them. When we come back, Emma Rodriguez will join us, and Phil Bennett will look back at the games from the weekend. I said earlier he was at that A&M game with Miami. His thoughts about what the Aggies at the end of the year, and he even texted me a couple of things that he wants to bring up, but also the next round and what we see. A lot of things to get to. Very busy day when it comes to the coaching portal. Actually, that's a carousel, and the transfer portal, and news on Notre Dame, USC, and BYU when it comes to football games. This is 365 Sports. And Petty Clinic, LowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and used to be. And I always have brought up the fact that he's really good about helping men. 1 out of every 3 or 4 men have symptomatic issues of low T. So if you don't feel right, you're not performing right, there's something that's off, he can help you with that by ordering you to go get your blood work, take care of that for you, take care of it, then get the results, and get back in touch with you. But let me also tell you about what he did for me last week. I did not feel well. I sound like I probably don't feel well, but I feel great. I was having, it wasn't the flu, it wasn't COVID, I don't know what it was, but it was not good. And he was able to give me a prescription late Wednesday night that helped me get through part of Thursday before. Of course, I had some issues with an earache, but he helped me out. I called him. I said, Dr. Petty, can you help me out? He did. And I want to tell you, he can do general practice, family practice for you as well at Petty Clinic, LowT.com.
Has teamed up with the Dallas Cowboys as the team's official battery recycling partner. Batteries Plus doesn't just sell batteries, they recycle them too. Customers can bring in old lithium batteries from power tools, power banks, and small electronics for a chance to win Cowboys tickets, a VIP experience, and more at qualifying locations. Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
My go-to guy. Can you fix my smartphone?
Yes.
Do you have car batteries?
Yeah.
What about golf cart batteries?
Of course.
Battery from a G-Fob?
Absolutely.
My boat?
Huge variety.
Toy boat?
Sure.
Motorcycles?
You bet.
My apartment building?
Whole building.
Do you have batteries for my party lights?
Yeah.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
At Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat, we're proud to be your premier destination in Waco for exceptional automotive service. Whether you're searching for a new vehicle, a quality pre-owned car, or dependable service and parts, our team is here to take care of you every step of the way. Visit Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco, where great deals, friendly service, and your next ride are waiting. Come by, let's be friends.
Hello, I'm Camille Johnson with Camille Johnson Realtors. We specialize in selling residential real estate agent all across our community, and we love serving all types of families. We have been in business at Camille Johnson Realtors for almost 9 years, and I have been a residential real estate agent for almost 40 years. And we love our partnership with 365. So thank you for partnering with me, and thank you so much to all of my clients who have made our company a success.
You got batteries for my side-by-side?
Yes.
Replace my flashlight?
Sure thing. What about my business?
Oh, good one.
100%. Batteries for my fleet of trucks?
Gas floor scrubbers?
Yes, and fire panels. We have pallets of batteries.
Well, what about...
As your go-to guy, if it needs a battery, we have it.
Well, that's all you had to say.
Could have led with that.
Batteries Plus, the experts in charge.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Here we go, this 3 o'clock hour rolled along, and there she is. U.S. Army aviation officer and Black Hawk helicopter pilot, and the wife of Jacob Rodriguez, the highly awarded linebacker at Texas Tech, Emma Rodriguez. David Smoak with also Craig Smoak. Emma, what has all of this been like? Just the whirlwind of attention, the travel, and more?
It's been incredible. Jacob and I are so incredibly thankful to be in the position that we're in. Texas Tech has given Jacob an incredible year and has given him everything that we could have ever wished for. But the travel's been crazy. It's been crazy, going to different places. But it's been incredible to meet all of the amazing people. Obviously, you, David, I met you through all of our travel. But we are so incredibly thankful for this opportunity and for just the ability that we've been given here.
Emma, I was curious. It looks like you're sitting in a nice office area. I don't know your setup, obviously, but is there any talk about a trophy room at this point, or do you already have that already in place for all the awards that Jacob is bringing home this season? Excuse me.
Yeah, so this is our house. This is it's supposed to be our dining room, but we just made it an office because why not? But in our basement, it's actually our little trophy room. I don't have shelves up yet. I really have to find some real sturdy shelves so that they don't rip off the wall. But yeah, that's where we're going to put everything, is in the basement.
How many interviews have you done? Even those at Big 12 championship game when you were off to the side, when they had the post game, do you even have any idea how many interviews you've done?
I have no clue. I can't imagine. It's not any. Jacob has done a million interviews since. But I couldn't tell you how many. Yeah. Well, I'm glad to have you on the show today. Emma Rodriguez with us on 365 Sports.
Emma, just how would you describe the ride of the last couple of years, just this wave of momentum, whether it's the off-the-field stuff or it's the culture that Joey McGuire's helped to raise up, and then having guys like your husband who have stuck around and then welcomed in new guys? I mean, it could all be very combustible and go differently. And you know that about teamwork and just how things all kind of fit. Why has this Texas Tech puzzle, do you think, fit so well together? And why has it been as magical as it's been over the last year in particular?
Yeah, it's been so incredibly magical because of who Coach McGuire is and who the guys that he brought in. He brought in a caliber of gentlemen that they're great people, they're great athletes, and they didn't come to Texas Tech just because of the money, or they didn't come to Texas Tech because of NIL. They came to Texas Tech because they wanted to be on a team that is a brotherhood that creates something that has never been created before in this new world of NIL is what I mean. But Coach McGuire is the reason why this Texas Tech team is so incredibly successful. He obviously, everyone knows that he was a high school football coach, and that's the atmosphere that he brought to Texas Tech. He knows every single person. If you enter the Jones during a work week, he knows your name, and he made it a point to meet you, and he made it a point to say hello to you. Every single player, he knows their name, he knows their family, he knows their situation in life, and you don't get that with college teams. You don't get that with college coaches anymore, but you get that in the high school realm, and that's what Coach McGuire brought to Texas Tech.
You know, one of the things I remember the most about that post game was the excitement. Tech had not won the Big 12 title, had not played for it. But they were all, although you saw smiles on their faces, and Joey was up there too, they were all still at a kind of a business meeting mentality, we accomplished something, took a lot of questions, but I didn't see a lot of just silliness. I saw a team or a group of guys that still knew they have more work to do. What about you?
Yeah, exactly. They all know that they have something greater to do. Winning the Big 12 championship was their goal this year, but goals obviously change, and if they're a very adaptable team. And after the Big 12 championship, they're the team that says, what's next? Anything happens, they're like, what's next? What can we do to make this even better than what it already is? So they were all incredibly, Coach McGuire gives them a 24-hour rule. You can either be happy for 24 hours or you can be sad for 24 hours. During that time, they were obviously all very happy for 24 hours. But after that 24 hours ended, they said, all right, what's next? What can we do to make this even better for Texas Tech, for Lubbock, for this community that they've built out there? And I know, like, for Jacob specifically, he was incredibly happy for 24 hours, and then he locked in, and they've been practicing ever since. So
it seems like that linebacker group gets along really well. What do you think is kind of the key to the chemistry there?
All the guys in that room are so incredibly awesome. Ben, John, Bryce, Wes, Gage, Brock, Trent, like those guys they go to dinner like probably once a week, even before this season started. For the last 3 seasons that they've all been together, they have regularly they go to the same dinner spot pretty much every Thursday. They spend time like outside of the football facility together. Like Jacob spends more time with his teammates than he obviously does with me. Like he's basically married to his teammates at this point. But those guys are just truly incredible people. Like you can be around people who you don't necessarily like, but if they're great people, then it makes it that much easier. And those guys are the best of the best people that you're ever going to meet. I love those guys so much. They're so awesome.
Emma, we have in our viewing the chat room with our YouTube channel, there are a lot of ex-servicemen, whatever particular armed forces, and they love the fact you're on with us. We talk about the military quite a bit. This is from one, Big Red 1, greatest Army division ever, stationed in Fort Riley, Kansas. This is where you are stationed. What's it like to be there? And had you ever flown anything prior to when you joined the Army and then were obviously given it as an aviation officer?
Yeah, so I have no prior flight experience outside of the Army. I've only flown the UH-72 Lakota, and then now I fly the Black Hawk, obviously. But that's just the transition that you go through in flight school, is you go from the 72 to whatever your advanced airframe is. And I was very lucky and very thankful to get Black Hawks. But being out of Fort Riley, it's awesome. The weather out here is great. It's actually like, I think 60 degrees outside today, which is unheard of for December. So that's awesome. But the weather is beautiful. The people are incredible. My neighbors are awesome. I love all of my neighbors. The land, I firmly believe this is like the only hilly part of Kansas. And I think that most people who like live in this area would agree, because like if you go anywhere to the east of Manhattan to Junction City area, like that's hills. Anywhere to the west, flat. I was not expecting that. I went on my first run out here whenever I first got here in April, and I was not expecting to just be running up a hill the entire time. So that's great. But the unit's awesome. Our command team is incredible out here. They really care about their soldiers. And I'm just really thankful to be out here.
How much does the both of you having lives that are pretty regimented, right? Or like kind of a focus and very have to be on schedule and a lot of things. Like how much do you guys kind of play off of each other in that regard, or I guess relate to one another, I guess is a better way to possibly put it.
Yeah. We talk about it a lot, that we were incredibly successful in like our relationship and just in long distance, because we are both so incredibly busy and we both understand like a timeline of being busy. I think that it's very difficult whenever you have a relationship where one of the parties in the relationship is not as busy. But whatever you're busy with, like that's something that like as long as you put your heart into it, you put your soul into it, that's what's gonna like help you. But for Jacob and I, we find like time to speak to each other whenever we're not like obviously doing what we're doing every single day in life. And it's incredible to have like something that you're so driven about to be able to speak to your spouse about, because whenever you see like their eyes light up, like Jacob's eyes light up whenever he talks about football. He loves his job. He literally gets to just go play with the guys every single day. And he loves it. It's something that he would not change for the world. And I think that what's happened out in Texas Tech and what's happened this season has just made it that it's the most fun he's ever had playing football. So whenever you have something that you're so incredibly passionate about, like I am passionate about flying, it's just so much more fruitful whenever you get to talk about that with your spouse. So
he has won some amazing awards. Obviously, I was disappointed he didn't get invited to New York City for the Heisman Trophy. I had released my ballot. I had him third. How much of a disappointment was that? And how long do you just kind of like, okay, not being invited to the Heisman Finalist Award?
I think for me, I will speak for Jacob on this, but for me, it was way more like important for him to be invited. Just based off of what I've been able to see him do this year and how incredible I know that he is and how much effort he's put in this year. It was more devastating for me that he wasn't invited. Whenever he found out he wasn't invited, he was kind of like, all right, what's next? Like it's all extra outside of playing football. Like all of these awards that he's been given the opportunity to attend or receive is all extra. He never signed up for any of that. But because of what God's done in his life this year, he's been able to be on those ballots and be in the conversation. And so I wanted him to be in the conversation. I thought that he deserved to be there. I thought that he's been doing something that no defensive player has done in the last 20 years at least. And I thought that whenever he was not just invited to the Heisman, I took it as like I was very upset about it. Jacob was not upset about it. He was like, okay, that's fine. Like I was never expecting to be there. So I was the one who was upset about it, but I think Fernando, he is an awesome athlete, awesome player. He definitely earned that trophy.
Yep.
Congratulations to him. But I wish Jacob would have been there. I think that for the defensive side of the ball, Jacob deserved an invite. And I think he earned an invite based off of the way that he's been playing. So,
Emma, what's it like to have that power, precision, unbelievable history and tradition of a Black Hawk helicopter and you're flying it?
The Black Hawk is the sports car of all helicopters. It is so incredible. I'm so incredibly thankful to fly it. I don't want to fly anything else. Maybe in the civilian world, way later on in my time, I'll maybe fly some civilian helicopters. But the Black Hawk is awesome. The community, the Black Hawk community, you don't get anything like this. You're the crew chiefs that we have. I'm currently flying medevacs, so the medics that I have, they are incredible. They're the best at what they do. And I just could not be in a better place with the unit that I'm with flying. It's incredible. You can't get better than flying a Black Hawk at all.
Well, I did listen to a couple of your other interviews, and did you mention that when you got in the Black Hawk for the first time, or the helicopter for the first time, that your instructor, you go out, and then all of a sudden he just lets go and lets you? I mean, is it like throwing a little baby in the pool and seeing if they can go anywhere, right?
Yeah, 100%. That's exactly what it's like. You literally, your first day, you learn, you go to the simulators and you learn how to start the engines. And then your first day getting in the aircraft, which by the time you get to your advanced airframe, which mine was the Black Hawk, by the time you get there, you know how to fly. You know how to fly a helicopter. But even on your first day in the Lakota, you get in there, your IP, your instructor pilot will take off, and then they'll look at you and they'll be like, all right, you have the flight controls. And your response is like, okay, I have the flight controls, a question typically. And then it's always a three-way positive transfer. And he'll be like, all right, you have the flight controls. And then you're like, oh, I have the flight controls.
Yeah.
And so you're flying, and your instructor, who all the instructors out at Fort Rucker are the best of the best. My instructors in Arousing Flight School were incredible. And Mr. Gelsomino, the first time he looked at me and he said, you have the flight controls. I said, are you sure? You really want that? And he was like, yeah, what's the worst that could happen? And I was like, we crash? What do you mean what's the worst that could happen? And he was like, no, we'll be fine. You're good. And that's literally how it was. He just transferred the controls to me and we flew, and that's how you learn.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Very, very cool. It freaks me out even thinking about being in control of that, but it's very cool. That you're able to experience that. The road to a national championship, I don't want to get too far ahead because there's multiple stops in there, but Miami, we know. Texas Tech's heading to Miami, then maybe Atlanta, then maybe back to Miami. But what's the anticipation level like for January 1st and Miami and Oregon now on the docket, and knowing how the Red Raiders roll and how this season's gone? Just, can you already feel the buzz and the excitement sort of building, even though it's over a week away here?
Oh yeah, you could feel the excitement back whenever they first got the January 1st ballot. No matter what team they're playing, they're going to go out there and play like Texas Tech Red Raiders play. And so it doesn't matter what team. They could have been playing JMU if it was differently and they ended up playing a different team. Then that's okay. But they're playing Oregon and they see it as a team that they're going to go play. They're going to go have an awesome time and they're going to go 1-0 in Miami. And I 100% believe that.
Emma, one more thing. They do have this game, and your love story with Jacob has been told a lot and sometimes overshadows what he is as a player, but he's gotten a lot of attention. And you too. What did you learn about him when he got injured against Wyoming and was out? What did you learn about Jacob Rodriguez at that time? Because I think it was like maybe right after you guys had gotten married, if I'm correct. What about that time?
That time was really difficult, but Jacob is the most resilient man. And I kind of already had known that just because obviously he transferred from Virginia to Texas Tech, switched to the other side of the ball, and that kind of showed his resiliency. But whenever he got injured in 2023, that's what showed it. That showed me how dedicated he is to what he's doing. That showed me how hard he's willing to work for what he's been given the opportunity to do. He was in the training room the minute he got injured. He was in the training room every single day. He was in the weight room every single day asking, what can I do? How can I be here? What's going to help me to get better? I mean, for an injury like that, he had a midfoot sprain, and if he would have torn it would have been a career-ending injury, which was very scary for us. But at the end of the day, like if that would have happened, I firmly believe that we would have been okay. And that he would have been okay because he knows that his purpose is so much greater than football. He's not just a football player, he's a child of God. And that's something that he holds very near and dear to his heart. But whenever he got injured in 2023, it just showed me how incredibly hardworking he is, how resilient he is. And it showed me that like, this is a man who we've chosen to do life together, but this is the man I've chosen to do life with. The man who, whenever you get completely beaten down and you think that everything is not working out to how you want it to look, he's going to continue to go try hard and try to do his best every single day. That's the man I married, and I'm so incredibly proud and thankful to be his wife. I'm so incredibly proud to call him my husband. But I know that he's just so incredibly thankful to be in the position he is in, and we cannot be more excited for this year and then what's beyond.
Unbelievable story with you and also with Jacob. It was great to see you at the Big 12 championship game and that post-game press conference. I gave you my card. I didn't know. And then next thing you know, I do get the contact. Thanks to Alyssa for setting this up.
She's the best.
Oh, my goodness. I can't imagine your schedule. That's why she has been amazing. Emma, we do appreciate it. Everybody that's watching, those who have served our country are so proud of you. And appreciate you and wanted to say thank you for what you do too. So have a great week and good luck against Oregon.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
Emma Rodriguez, U.S. Army aviation officer, Black Hawk helicopter pilot, and Jacob Rodriguez, wife. What a story that has been throughout this 2025 college football season. Before we go to the break, Brandon, Super Chats, one from, I believe, Dustin Archambault. Happy holidays from my family and Go Tech. Thank you, Dustin, very much for that one. And then there's one more, right? Yep, Kim Coulter. We know Kim and his absolute love of Texas Tech, but also of this podcast. Reckham bonus number 1 for 365 staff. More to follow as we move through the show today for $99.99. Bobby B, from one Blackhawk pilot to another, thank her for her service. That is amazing.
Well, thank you to all three of you guys for putting up some super chats there and being very generous with that. So thank you to all three of you, and just appreciate you being a part of the show regardless of the super chats. But the fact that you did that is definitely very much something we're thankful for. And yeah, that was a fun interview and good to talk to Emma, and what a story that has been for Texas Tech, but also just one of the more, I guess, sort of personal, more highly publicized story in college football this past season has been the Rodriguez's. So knowing kind of where it started. And if you'll remember, I said at the very beginning, I was like, is she going to be like this constant person that we see? And it turns out that she was. Like we saw her every single week. And I got the gist of that, like in their first or second game. I was like, man, this is the human interest story that we're going to hear all about if they keep winning. And sure enough, they kept winning. And that story's grown. And now she's doing interviews with us and however many others. But we do appreciate her time because she's obviously very busy. And what a run for the Rodriguez family and for Texas Tech. And so, yeah, shout out to all the Red Raiders. It must have been nice to just sit back this past weekend and get to enjoy it, knowing that you're in it, but that you didn't have to worry about this first weekend. You kind of just sit back. That had to be a lot of fun. And now what an incredible matchup it'll be with Oregon here in just a few days down in Miami. So, things are going well out in Lubbock and beyond for the Texas Tech faithful, that's for sure.
I sent Joey McGuire a text telling him that we had Emma on. He gave me a response that basically said she's a badass, but an incredible part of representing Tech. She did tell Alyssa Romano, who's the PR firm that set this up, that sometimes the attention on her and him overshadows some of what he did. Well, he got a lot of attention, though, with those 4 major awards. It's always thought that maybe he should have been invited to New York, but what a run it's been. Now they focus 11 days, they play Oregon. Well, what a matchup with that high-flying offense and all that speed against what Texas Tech does so well with their defense. Not, again, that Tech can't play offense or that Oregon can't play defense.
No, I mean, I think James Madison did some things where you feel confident that Tech will be able to move the football, but it is not their greatest strength. Their greatest strength is very clearly their defense, and I think that says a lot about her to even consider that her story or their story might be overshadowing his accomplishments. That's a great wife and a great partner right there, and I think that maybe in the beginning, had it just been this human interest story with not a lot of substance to it, then maybe that could have been what it turned into. But instead, he had such great accomplishments and the team had such great accomplishments that I don't think there was any part of their story that overshadowed him in the slightest. It just added to it. And his awards speak for themselves, and all the attention that he and the team have gotten speak for themselves. So you can have your cake and eat it too. And I think the Rodriguez family has done that to this point, both on and off the field. And there's still more out there to chow down on, starting with Oregon here, and then potentially another game after that, and then hopefully another game after that, and you're 3 wins away from a national title. So it's been a great run, but there's more for the taking, and they obviously make a great duo, and I think it's been a really fun story to see, and I'm glad that she took some time out for us to let us be a little bit of a slice of her day and to tell a little bit of their story.
Man, what a great story it is. When we come back, there are a lot of other stories in college football. We looked and dove into a couple of the games, including that Miami A&M game and Alabama, Oklahoma. We will look at Oregon and James Madison, Tulane against Ole Miss, and a lot of other news in college football. Phil Bennett will break down X's and O's with us at 5 o'clock. Today in the studio, Logan Begesi, also Andrew Valade, Garrett Ross, and Brandon Rowe. And what they do, you don't even get to see it. What they do for us behind the scenes is so appreciative as we have a condensed week with the holidays again this week.
Yeah, might as well. I mean, we got time here, so might as well tell y'all we're here live today. We're going to be here until 5:30, 5:45 as we normally are. Same thing tomorrow. So we'll have a full show today, full show tomorrow, and then we will take a break, although we're debating you might do something Friday. We'll see. It won't be like a full-blown show, but maybe not. I think that's still to be called, but we will be here today, obviously, and tomorrow. And then the plans are to have Monday, Tuesday shows next week as well. So we're not going to sit out playoff time when there's all this going on and be like, we could have gone into Christmas break and shut it down, but we're here, and so glad to have you all with us. And whether we're bitching about college football or we're enjoying college football, glad to celebrate the holidays with y'all in small part. But yeah, just letting you know our schedule today, tomorrow, and then maybe Friday, and then something coming up Monday, Tuesday. So we'll be around on a regular basis to talk about all these bowl games and all of the portal and coaching carousel news that continues to trickle out as well. But there's just a little bit of an update on our schedule.
Pretty good news over the weekend for Arizona State that got to be a little bit shaky. We'll have that and more. I mentioned our staff, Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak, and this is 365 Sports.
With over 25 years of excellence in IT, Carrion Solutions is your trusted technology partner. From managed IT services to cutting-edge cybersecurity, our expert team delivers tailored solutions that drive success. Our portfolio includes products such as Veeam, Bitdefender, Microsoft, Cisco, and Fortinet. Call David Carrion and his team of experts Call 888-522-2221 or visit us at carrionsolutions.com.
At BK4, we step onto the field every day for our customers. Here, legends are born and glory is earned. The spirit of competition unites us all as we stand as one. It's more than a truck, it's a passion. Get ready for the thrill, the triumphs, and the unforgettable moments that only BK4 can deliver. Are you ready to experience better? BK4.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at alliancebanktexas.com. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
So it's football season, and we can create your outdoor tailgating spaces that is actually a part of your home. Bifold doors that tie in the inside and the outside, and you can gain anywhere from 1,000 to 5,000 square feet living space, all while taking in the big game poolside. Call us at Gather & Co. Kitchen and Bath, where we can create your unique tailgating space.
This is 365 Sports. Check out the 365 Sport family of channels on YouTube.
Here we go, this 4 o'clock hour. Well, actually, a couple minutes prior to it, we still have 2 of the first-round games to discuss. And then a big day, big weekend when it comes to coaching carousel and also some player movement, too, involving teams from throughout the country, including a couple of really good players in the Big 12. So we discussed Miami A&M. We discussed Alabama-Oklahoma. Alabama-Oklahoma I thought was a great game. I loved being home on a Friday night to watch that. Miami and A&M down to the wire, low scoring at times, kind of got really wild at the end. But then you had the game that was on Saturday night, Craig, with James Madison and also Oregon.
Yeah, there was the one in between that as well.
I know.
The afternoon game. But, yeah, James Madison, Oregon, the nightcap, the closer, I guess, if you will. What is there to say, really, other than that was an awful game when it came to wanting to be entertained, wanting to have something to watch. I mean, outside of JMU's opening drive, I think that it was what you feared. The whole second half of the day for the group of 5 teams, it was the nightmare scenario where it was 2 completely uncompetitive games and 2 matchups where it looked like one team belonged in one category and another team belonged in another category. And I'm not somebody who's out here like ban the G5s, and we can get into all that kind of discussion and
we will
and all of that. But yeah, I just think it sucks that those games sucked because you really needed those to be competitive to some degree if you were the James Madisons, the Tulanes of the world. And it was, like I said, it was the worst case scenario. It was a repeat blowout of Ole Miss Tulane Part 1. And then James Madison, Oregon, outside of like the very beginning of that game, I mean, Oregon could have basically named their score. They emptied the bench, and James Madison played well against the second and third string guys and put some points up, but had very little to muster against Oregon starting units outside of a few plays here and there. So it was what you feared could end up happening. It's what we've seen happen in previous playoffs. There have been blowouts that include the G5s on a regular basis when they've been in, and there's also other games that have included all quote-unquote P2, P4 teams and we've had blowouts there as well. So there's no completely eliminating or avoiding blowouts, and anybody who's trying to propose something that does that is being disingenuous, because there's no way to guarantee there won't be blowouts no matter how you rig the system up, unless you're going to do like the top 2 teams. And even then, as we saw Georgia and TCU, you can still have a blowout there. So it's just unfortunate that Saturday was a 3-game slate that really wasn't entertaining. And quite frankly, I'll tell you, as a guy who prefers college football over the NFL, I tuned to the NFL game on Saturday night. I wanted something to be entertained by. So I'm sitting there and I'm trying to watch JMU and Oregon. And at one point, it's like, all right, they're up by 4 scores. They're up by 5 scores. I mean, what more do I need to see? I'm sorry, JMU. I would love to believe that you have a chance of making a comeback, but you very clearly do not have any chance of that whatsoever. And it was just a runaway game. And so back-to-back, I think just blowouts really left a bad taste in people's mouths as far as everything. And that's why we started off this, like, how do you feel coming out of the weekend? I feel great about the first couple games I got to see. I hated how dull and boring and uncompetitive the latter 2 games were, but I mostly hate that just the conversation is not going to be dominated by what the good was. It's going to be dominated by the bad and all the off the field stuff. And sure enough, that's what we had starting on Saturday afternoon, certainly peaking on Saturday night. And then yesterday, I mean, that's all day long is what I saw was the playoff needs this and that and the other, and ban the G5s, boot the Big 12 out, I mean, any scenario, everybody's got ideas on how to fix it. But yeah, there's no avoiding the blowout, even if you got rid of the G5s. But it was exactly what could not happen if you are those schools that are sitting there saying, no, really, we deserve our crack and we'll take advantage of it and we've earned our way and we've done all these things. I said on Friday, I didn't expect James Madison to beat Oregon, but I thought it was really important that they at least make it competitive, and they weren't able to do that.
No, they weren't. If you were to look at the final score, like let's say you didn't watch it, and you saw 51-34, you might go, huh? But we do know Oregon scored on their first 5 drives. The longest of those drives was 2 minutes and 37 seconds. It was a blowout. James Madison kept fighting away. Good for them, but they didn't have enough. Now, speaking of that, so here's our good friends at JMU News. The 51-34 loss to Oregon, no different than the losses in the first round a year ago, other than the fact that that's him, a G6 team. Ohio State smoked Oregon at one time 34-0. Penn State at one point led SMU by 35. Notre Dame hammered Indiana. It ended up being much closer at the end. And Ohio State crushed Tennessee. But you don't hear that because those teams are a part of Power 4 conferences.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right on that, but I'm sorry, I just don't think it holds a lot of water in the bigger conversation. I mean, you're absolutely right, and that's a fair point, but I mean, it's just not even competitive, though. And I think that for some of those other teams, you at least say, all right, Team A got blown out, but like, what did they do to get there? And I think that's the starting point for where people have a problem is like, who did JMU or Tulane beat to get here? And that's where you begin it. And then you compare it to the teams that did not get this opportunity that you feel like would have played better games, whether it be BYU or whether it be Texas or whether it be Vanderbilt. You could say that they had stronger wins, although they obviously had more losses. And so that brings into play this whole other greater big picture, because everything's a big picture conversation now in college football about scheduling as a whole. And like, we're going to get to USC Notre Dame at a certain point down later in the show in regards to scheduling and all of that. But yeah, I'm torn as somebody who's not trying to be Mr. Exclusive Country Club, and all I want to see is Tennessee versus Ohio State, feeling like that's every single matchup, because that doesn't guarantee there won't be blowouts either. But I also did not like having 2 teams of that caliber, so to speak, in the playoff, taking away from at least one other worthy team, Notre Dame even. I don't think I mentioned them. All of those things, teams perhaps would have gotten blown out, but I just have a hard time believing it would have been to the degree that we saw for James Madison and Tulane.
But the reason there were 2 of those teams was because another conference couldn't take care of their business in the ACC. So that opened the door up, which was the exception. That may happen never again because, of course, they'll probably tweak the rules, and the ACC will tweak their conference championship rule too.
We know they're going to do that because they've already said they're going to do that, and they need to do that clearly because they left a back door unlocked that they maybe thought never would be approached by anybody, and so they didn't need to worry about it, or just maybe thought it was secure and it wasn't. But that tiebreaker was not what they thought it was, and it led to this chaos. And so I'm not anti-JMU. I'm not anti-Tulane, but man, I would love to see more competitive first-round games. And again, I know that simply inserting BYU doesn't mean they don't get blown out by Oregon too.
Right.
But I think it's fair to say that it wouldn't have been to the degree that it was on Saturday in Eugene. So there's this idea that if you just invite all SEC and Big Ten teams, that the playoff will be perfect and there will never be blowouts and every game will be highly competitive. And that's total BS. But I do think it's very fair at this point when you look at just how lopsided some of these games have been, particularly when you're speaking specifically to the G6. It's not a surprise to see the TV networks and their mouthpieces that are hammering home that they don't belong and hammering home these results. And you see the narrative that's been built up. And so whether you agree with it or not, that narrative only got reinforced this past Saturday night, and I think it's inevitably going to lead. We already know there's changes next year, so Notre Dame will basically never be left out unless they have a really down year. So that whole fiasco will be averted. But as far as the big picture conversation about where they belong and not, they did themselves no favors, and I think that sucks because I am for inclusion, but not for the sake of the overall betterment of the playoff.
All right, we say that, and I agree with you. I understand what you're saying. It happened to be the exception. But look at what we've seen before with blue blood teams. Here are previous scores in the college football playoff. TCU was mauled by Georgia. Florida State lost by 39. Michigan State by 38. All the way down the list, I get the feeling about what people are saying, or fans or media or others involved in the game about the group of 6 schools. I tend to still want to have their back, not to like die on a hill, but it's not like they're the only ones that have ever gotten their asses kicked in the college football playoff.
No, they're not. And again, that's why I said like 5 times, you can't avoid blowouts no matter what system you set up. You could say Ohio State, Texas, Alabama, and Georgia are only going to play 4, and then we'll do Notre Dame and whoever, and you could just have the bluest of the blue bloods and all of that, and you're still going to have a blowout occasionally given whatever year there is. There's a lot of times where there's only 2 teams that should be playing for a title, but we've zoomed past that point. The 4 team was probably, to determine a champion, probably the best way to do that, but even that had blowouts. So basically, there's no way to not have blowouts. I think the difference is, and this is not me speaking, but for the people who do have some sway, the media heads don't want to cover JMU Oregon, the blowout. If they're going to watch an Oregon blowout, they want Oregon to be blowing out somebody that they recognize that has 1 million fans, right? Or Oregon's getting blown out by somebody who has 1 billion fans, as opposed to watching the big school beat up on the small school. And I think the TV networks are very clear in what they want. They would have much rather have had BYU getting their doors blown off, because at least they bring a couple million viewers, versus JMU. And we'll see what the ratings look like tomorrow, probably is when those will drop. But I mean, I'm not speaking for myself necessarily. I think that there should be a pathway. I think having 2 teams was an absolute disaster, and that has to be avoided at all costs.
And it is going to be.
It is going to be, so that's fine. So I'm not going to dwell on that. But I'm not Mr. Anti-G5. I do think, though, it's a little bit disingenuous to act like there isn't a pretty big difference, though, when you're talking about the money involved and just the resources and what goes into that. And I am very well aware that the same schools that are like, yeah, kick them out, are some of the same schools that might be getting kicked out if you keep allowing the SEC and the Big Ten to run everything. And so I am fully aware that the Big 12 has no position to be talking too much noise, because they're next. And the ACC, minus about 4 or 5 teams, they're next, if not first, if you would start doing this whole culling process. But I just think that the TV networks are the ones that are making the call, and the media at large, especially your ESPN folks, they want to cover the biggest schools because that brings the most eyeballs. And so you're hearing a lot of crowing from them because, yeah, there's blowouts, but at least make it a blowout where we're going to get 3 million viewers.
That's like saying you don't want to see the Titans and the Panthers in the Super Bowl because the ratings won't be the same. And there's reasons to feel that way if you're a businessman, a CEO, a network, whatever. But let me go to the Fornelli graphic first, Brandon, because he wrote an article, Tom Fornelli from CBS Sports, and Craig, you mentioned this. Anyway, right now, go to the bold part. Believe me, if finances continue to work the way they're working in this sport, it's only a matter of time before the ACC and Big 12 get the same treatment people are giving to Lane and James Madison. Then, to drive the point home even further, of the 22 teams that have played in the college football playoff national championship game, 16 currently reside in the Big Ten or SEC. Clemson 4, TCU once, and Notre Dame once. And that's what he was saying about, you can sit there and let's say you're a fan of the ACC or the Big 12, and you're kind of like, yeah, well, and then you might be next if you're not careful.
Well, I mean, if you're trying to boot the G5s out and saying, yeah, they don't belong, they don't deserve a spot, well, that's going to be the SEC or the ESPN talking heads or the Big Ten and the Fox talking heads saying the same thing about Iowa State or TCU or whoever. And that graphic is correct. Let's also acknowledge that there's a lot of teams that would have counted for other conferences, and then realignment happened. So all of your Texas and Oklahomas and your Oregons and Washingtons, those don't count for the leagues they used to play in, even though they made the playoffs with those leagues. So that's a penalty of realignment in some ways for the Big 12, I think, in particular, with what they lost. You lost your two bell cows and two most watched and powerful teams that regularly were making it. And then you had TCU, who was the outlier, but they have, unfortunately, the reputation of not beating Michigan. They have the reputation of being one of those blowouts that we talk about in the national championship game, where they were just not competitive whatsoever with Georgia. So, yeah, I think be careful what you wish for. Now, I do think there's a point where, and this is beyond my level of knowledge, so I don't know about antitrust and all those types of things. I do think there's a point where the SEC and the Big Ten are having to dance around those things or take those into account. They can't just say, we're taking everything and we're splitting and breaking away, because there would be lawsuits and there are legal hurdles to jump there. But I do believe that they're 100% over the last couple of years, if not going back farther, and currently trying to figure out ways to do exactly just that sooner rather than later, and figuring out how can we make this basically the Super League, where it's the SEC and the Big Ten, although I would say you'd have to trim some of the teams to be in what my opinion is a Super League, but I just don't know how feasible that is. And maybe we don't get to that point, but I think we're a lot closer to moving to that point than maybe people thought we were a year or two ago. And there's a lot of signs of that. And I think you hear all the crowing about the G5 and the reaction and the changes that are coming next year. And it was imperative that a James Madison or a Tulane show up and show out, and neither one of them did. And so not that it's all their fault, but the narrative is what it is. And it only got reinforced this past weekend, whether you agree with it or not. It got reinforced. And so I think that's why it's huge for Texas Tech to have a good showing and win a game for the Big 12 sake, because if they go out and they get beat, well, guess what? That narrative's going to turn your way and be like, no Big 12 team has won a playoff game outside of so that is what it is. This playoff conversation, there's a lot of very selfish people. There's a lot of money. There's a lot of power to go around, and everybody's trying to grab their piece of the pie. But unfortunately, there's only two people who really have the knife to cut the cake, and you're at the mercy of them. And this past weekend, what little leverage you might have had as the group of five, group of six, you pretty much lost all of it, in my opinion.
Here's something I want to say about the college football playoff, too. And Craig, you're right. I mean, they needed Tulane to somehow make that game competitive for a little bit. It never was. Neither was James Madison and Oregon. So the Power Four in Notre Dame, they look down on everybody else, right? You're not good enough for us. Not all of them, but we get that's kind of the narrative. But they're good enough for the Power Four schools in Notre Dame to raid, steal, and poach the rosters because they're good enough to develop coaches that are not a part of the Big Ten and the SEC, but those conferences, when they need a coach, guess where they go sometimes? Yeah, they go to the ACC or the Big 12 or to a Power or a G5 school. They're also good enough that even though they probably wouldn't win the games head-to-head, yet the Power Four schools will not play a home-and-home against James Madison, and I know why, because the stadium situation, they would lose money on a road game. Joe Klatt was very outspoken about the G5s. He kept saying this over the weekend. Man, it's sad to see. It's sad to see these teams. They can't compete. They're not supposed to be a part of this. Yet Joe Klatt was the quarterback at Colorado in 2005. He was the starting quarterback for a Colorado team that was in the Big 12 and lost to Texas 70-3. Now, that was Vince Young, Texas. That was like super elite in the championship game. So sometimes people forget their own memories of their own things, but this is going to change. We've already seen it's going to be changed the way they set the format up next year. And so it will change, but people have a right to have an opinion about what they want to see. And Tulane and James Madison did not help anything over the weekend.
And look, man, here's the deal. I don't think the Joel Klatt thing is really apples to apples necessarily. I mean, I get what you're saying as far as he got blown out in a championship game, so even teams that are quote-unquote in the club can get blown out too. I mean, we've seen – and we just talked about the playoff and how there are blowouts, whether it's G5s or it's not G5s, but I do think he's had some clunker takes. I think he's one of those guys that doesn't want to go watch James Madison, Oregon. I think if he's going to see a blowout – and he's going to go to Eugene to see a blowout, he wants to see Tennessee getting blown out or Tennessee blowing out Oregon. I don't think they want to waste their time, so to speak, with JMU or Tulane if they don't have to. I don't think they want to lower themselves in some cases. I think they want to be at the biggest stadium with the biggest brands and the biggest eyeballs, and that's all that they really care about. And if that turns into a blowout, well, at least we watched Ohio State blow out Michigan as opposed to Ohio State blowing out Tulsa or something like that. That's my opinion. I think that those guys are all about eyeballs and numbers, and the numbers say the bigger schools bring you the numbers and the eyeballs and the money. And so if you're going to do this thing, then do the biggest, baddest, best, most viewed schools and focus on that. And so I think that that is kind of part of where somebody like him is coming from. I think, again, he's had some real clunker takes here. I think since he moved over to Fox, has very much become a Big Ten guy and has started to become a bit more elitist in some of his takes. I enjoy some of his work, but I don't think I'm out of school in saying that because I feel like that's the sentiment that a lot of people have had. So, yeah, he popped. Everybody's popped off on this playoff because it's just such a mess and it's so just polarizing. And you had a lot of people coming out and be like, all you G5 casuals, all you losers who rooted for the little guy, how do you feel about it now? And I think everybody who was doing that to begin with would feel like we feel the exact same. Like, yeah, they wouldn't got blown out, but it doesn't change my opinion that Tulane, if they earn it, should get there. I think the question with JMU and Tulane was, did they truly earn both of them being in? And it wasn't so much that I think you feel like they earned it. It was that it was a result of a technicality in another league that allowed it to be a two-team situation as opposed to a one-team situation. But I know even if it was one team, we'd still be bitching about that one team. Yeah. So they want an elite tournament. ESPN wants the biggest brands. I think it would be ridiculous to say otherwise. The way that they promote the sport and the way they talk about the sport and the way the most popular people in this sport talk about the same 10 teams and then go, hey, we talked about you, little buddy. I did that interview like 3 weeks ago with that one coach from the 16-team league. See, we covered the Big 12. And that's what you get. Take what you can get. And so I feel like there is very much kind of an elitist mentality of be happy you're even invited right now. And maybe there's some truth to that of if you're Tulane or James Madison or smaller Big 12 schools or ACC schools or whoever, that be glad that you're a part of the party. And so that's just the revolving conversation around this whole enterprise right now is who deserves what, who belongs where, how does all this work, and how can we make it the best? And unfortunately, there's just a lot of people with many different self-interests that you're never going to get anybody on the same page.
One thing I agree, Joe Klatt, one thing he did say was this, and it made me go, okay, wait a minute, is if they do take the group of six or whoever it is, first of all, it's up to those programs. They don't have a vote anymore. They're going to have to do whatever everyone wants them to do. And the Big 12 and ACC don't have much of a vote either.
They don't have a vote.
So you have, I was saying that, but what you do have is the ability to maybe incentivize the group of six schools to, if you want them to do something on their own, you need to give them some money to do that. You don't need to just go say, you go play your own playoff. I know they could just ramrod this if they wanted to. I wonder how many of the programs would then say, okay, for an extra $4 million a year, we'll have our own playoff. And then they sell it and make some revenue off of it. Or they're going to want to say, no, we want to at least have a puncher's chance.
Yeah, and I think if you earn your path there, but that's the debate is how do you earn it? If you're a Tulane, how do you earn your spot in the playoff? You go win the American. Okay, that's one way of doing it. Or you win your conference. That's potentially how you go about doing it. But as a second team, like how does all that work? I mean, there's a lot of different options that have been presented by dozens and dozens of people at this point, whether it's Joel Klatt or it's Joe from Tuscaloosa or whatever. I mean, everybody's got an opinion on the playoff and who belongs and who doesn't. And there are a lot of people who, if they had their way, it would be the Big Ten and the SEC Invitational, and there would be nobody besides that. And then there are other people that feel like that's great, but you should have the Big 12 and ACC. And then there's others that feel like the Group of 5, Group of 6. I don't know which to call it because the Pac-12 made it like it was the G5, and now with the Pac,
it's a Group 6. It's a Group of
G6,
yeah.
But like I hear both, and so I just roll with both. But it depends on who you talk to, and I am somebody who I don't think that the G6, the G5 playoff is the worst idea in the world. I think that JMU playing Tulane in that championship game would actually be probably a lot better for everybody than them getting doused in the first round. But again, you can't prevent blowouts, even if you just have all of these exclusive schools. But I do think you'd have somebody ending the season on a much higher note. You'd have more competitiveness. You'd have something that maybe makes a bit more sense for the environment and the sport the way that it is currently structured, where, let's just face it, guys, Tulane and James Madison aren't in the same universe resource-wise as a lot of the schools they're trying to compete with in the playoff. And look, there's some Big 12 schools who I don't think are anywhere close resource-wise to some of the teams they might run into, but they're still a step above James Madison or Tulane, and they have a little bit more of a puncher's chance to at least be competitive. What we've seen from these group schools is it's not even competitive.
No, but you're
like
talking,
across the board.
Yeah, you're talking about millions and millions of dollars between the Big Ten, SEC, and the ACC Big 12, and then you have that many millions between those two conferences and the G5.
So I don't think that that playoff idea is the worst, but I will say what I said last week, and it's like, yeah, but you're going to have to give them something to do that. They're not going to voluntarily go, you know what, we got our asses kicked. We're just going to go start our own playoff now. What do you think? They're not going to do that. Tulane worked its ass off to get into a position to be in the playoff. James Madison's worked its ass off to move up the ranks these past few years, put themselves in a position to even be eligible to be in this playoff, much less make it. So these schools have been going above and beyond to just stay on the life raft as best they can, and they've been getting tossed and turned by waves galore, and they're still just hanging on. If they're going to let go, you're going to have to give them another life raft. Because they're not going to do it willingly. You're going to have to show them, like, no, see this right here, it's fully inflated. You got to jump on this bad boy, be totally dry, you'll be safe, storms, no worries. But instead, it's like there's no pathway. You're just telling them, well, go do it. It's okay, we'll somebody put together a plan of how that would look and how incentivized it would be, because the alternative of getting your ass kicked and making a little bit of playoff scratch might still be better than going and winning that secondary tournament.
That's what I was saying about if the coaches were asked what they would want to do. Hey, we're going to build your national championship and give you extra money, or you get a chance to have a puncher's chance. And I wonder if the ego and then, or the president, hey, wait a minute, an extra $4, $6, $8 million. We need to look at that option. So here are some, that has been, and what Craig said from the beginning, the weekend was not about the comeback as much about Alabama or Miami and A&M like being like this, and then ends up being like hair on fire. It was about, the blowouts. It would not have been the same thing had those blowouts been against some teams with bigger names. It just wouldn't have, because there wasn't an immediate narrative prior to when there was any kind of discussion.
Well, and we'll see the TV ratings tomorrow and see what those look like. But I think, again, the difference is if Tennessee gets blown out, Tennessee's probably bringing 4 million in an audience with whoever they're matched up with, or 5 million or whatever, even if it's a blowout. That'll be key, because if the ratings are down, that'll be another dagger in the whole G5 conversation and their place in it. And look, I saw JMU tweeting through it, and some of the other accounts that follow Tulane, and I felt terrible for them. I mean, a great opportunity, and I think they handled themselves as best they could. They were just outmatched, overpowered, and outspent in a lot of cases, and I do think it was to the extent that it's not disrespectful to at least broach the topic of, okay, like, what would this look like if we did it a little bit differently, and what would we have to tell a Boise State who's done everything imaginable to try to be a part of the club? What do we tell them, and Tulane and James Madison? And some people might just be like, you throw middle fingers and you tell them to get the hell out or whatever, and that's fine. But for everybody else who's trying to have like a cohesive sport and be respectful about it, like, what is the best way to maybe spin this off to where it is its own cool thing that can make money and make sense for those teams, and then improve the top level of this playoff to where we're talking about the results more than we're talking about how much of a mess everything is.
Yeah, you remember how many years the Super Bowl was a blowout? It got to the point where, my God, should they do the AFC versus NFC? Should they change it up? They left it the same eventually. that cycles, but that's 32 teams all with the same revenue flow and the same salary cap. Here is, by the way, Jeff Ward had said that you shouldn't have widespread, like higher spreads when you get to the second round if these are the best teams. Ohio State's a 10-point favorite against Miami. So, yeah, there's also two other games where the spread is 7 points.
Well, that's the thing is, like, when you're having this conversation about what's the best playoff format to avoid blowouts, it's going to 4. And even then, we saw that with TCU getting destroyed, 65-7, I believe the final score was against Georgia. So there's no rigging the system to prevent that. But I think when you look in particular at those first round spreads and you go like, yeah, I mean, what are we doing here? And then the second round, yeah, I mean, there's
well, Brandon, we have it. We'll put it up later on. There's a 10-point spread, 2 7-point spreads, and there's like a 1.5 spread.
So that's not terrible, but I mean, still 10 and 7 is pretty big for a quarterfinal round of a playoff. You would think you would be a bit closer, but I think the SCS has had some similarities there. There's just some schools that are better, and there's not 20, 25, 32, certainly not 64 that are all going to be highly competitive with one another. So it may be to where the smaller the playoff was the best matchup, and there's just certain years like Georgia, TCU, where no matter what you did, Georgia's just that much better. But certainly the way it's set up right now, there's a lot of room to look and examine and try to figure out better ways to do things.
All right, so when we come back, Kenny Dillingham in Arizona State, Rocco Beck in Iowa State for how much longer? That and more. But we have super chats yet again. Still alive, 365. Thank you, man. 99.99. Happy to match the #1 Coulter contribution. Great idea. Merry Christmas to the 365 crew. That's not the only one.
Hell, man, I'm about to buy a ticket to the Orange Bowl. You guys keep hitting us up with the $100 super chats here. I'm gonna go out to Miami.
Anything and everything is appreciated. Stormy Cyclone. Merry Christmas to all except ESPN SEC fans. And then another banger, retired stockbroker. I'll call Kim Coulter and Still Alive 365 and raise a penny, laugh out loud. Merry Christmas, all chat room and 365 Sports YT for a $100 banger. Thank you, retired stockbroker. And then Kim, Reckham bonus #2 for Andrew Valade, specifically earmarked for him. TV, thank you for all you guys do, the hard work during the year, more to follow. Thank you, guys. It's unbelievable what you're doing today on the Super Chat.
Hey,
it really is.
Kim, if you're watching, I think Andrew Valade hacked your account and is
you better
posing as you. But, no, I mean, that's very nice. And Andrew, everybody behind the scenes has worked really hard this year, and we got more coming. And I'm glad that you shouted him out because, we're not here without the guys behind the scenes doing what they do. So, y'all are all being very generous today. I'm glad that the holidays are hitting here, and we're all going to get some time to take a deep breath, but a nice way to start the week. And y'all are being very generous, and we certainly appreciate it. And regardless of your opinion on any of the stuff we're talking about, we're not all expected to agree on everything, but I think we all are here because we love college football, even with all of its warts, and it's got more warts than it's ever had before right now. But we can at least rally around even the things we don't like as much as the things we do like. So glad that you're here with us.
We are here today until 5:30 or so. We're here tomorrow. If you didn't see, Emma Rodriguez joined us earlier today, the Texas Tech, Jacob Rodriguez's wife and the Black Hawk helicopter pilot. She joined us. Phil Bennett in 30 minutes. News to get to. Thank you so much. We'll be here tomorrow, too. Regular hours from 3 to 5:30 or so. This is 365 Sports. Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Ted Teague, General Manager and CEO. David Gray handles all of the sales and also the staff that will sell you a car. Drop by the location. The inventory is there right near the end of the year. Maybe get all caught up in a brand new car for Christmas. They have a great lot of pre-owned, too. That's what I bought there back in 2020. I've loved it ever since. But right now, end of the year blowout going on, including 0% financing on the new Ram trucks, 3.9% for 72 months, plus 10% off MSRP, and $2,000 in bonus cash on the 2025, the new Ram 1500 crew cabs. Brand new Jeep Cherokee starting at just $33,990. The 2500 Ram, the Laramie Limited, $14,000 off MSRP. The Jeep Wrangler Sahara models, $10,000 off MSRP. And the 2025 Jeep Gladiator, the Jeep Gladiator Sport High Tide for just $39.99. All of that and more. They have it right now on the lot at Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, raise your cholesterol, and cause weight gain. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results. So if you're tired of being tired, call or go online at pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $165 a month, including lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, and follow-up visits, compared to $300 or more a month in Dallas or Austin. And you don't have to drive 90 miles one way or the other and fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T has board-certified physician consultations and will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone. Contact Petty Clinic Low T for increased energy, improvement in sexual desire and performance, mood, concentration, even a decrease in body and belly fat. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, pettycliniclowt.com.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
One of the questions I'm going to ask Phil Bennett, Craig and I will, about Will Muschamp going back to UT, named the defensive coordinator, as we mentioned that on Friday, but get his opinion on Muschamp back with the Horns. Kenny Dillingham, man, this was kind of on and off. You know, I always felt good, kind of like Sataki at BYU. That just quickly turned so fast, and they got that done. He does agree and signs a new deal to remain where he wants to be at Arizona State, where he seems like it's just the perfect fit for where he is, the family and everything, what he's done there. Signs an agreement at $11 million, a staff salary pool of $11 million, averages $7.5 million, his salary over the course of the deal. He seemed very happy about this, Craig. This needed this a longer this went, but he is staying at Arizona State.
It's good to have some resolution on this after a couple of weeks of really wondering and to the point of hand-wringing. I think if you're an Arizona State fan of that Michigan job continuing to be open and wondering based on some of the stuff that Dillingham was saying on what direction that was all headed, and looked like at one point he could very well be the next head coach there at Michigan. I've never really seen the fit outside of him just being a great young coach who I think is going to be around for a very long time and be very successful. He just doesn't right at this very moment strike me as like the head coach at Michigan. I think he's just too baby-faced maybe for me, if that makes sense. But I think he could pull it off, and he would be a great hire for them, especially at this point when it doesn't seem like they have anybody to hire. So that continues to roll on along that subplot. But for Arizona State, the ball or the check stops here with Dillingham getting what he wanted from administration, getting to replenish his salary pool for his assistants is always something that head coaches are looking to do, especially in this day and age. So to be able to get that much like Satake did for his guys, is absolutely huge. And then to also get rewarded himself, I think is something you're always going to be happy with. And he's going to be making really, really good money and up there, and not the tippity top of the tier of head coaches, but in a very respectable place nationally as well. But unfortunately, as we'll get to, I don't know what your plan is for the video. Unfortunately, it immediately turned around into basically begging for more money to pay players. But let me finish my thoughts on Dillingham first. I think he's an excellent coach, as I've stated repeatedly, and he is a perfect fit for Arizona State, given his background with growing up around there and going and attending there and being involved as he has been throughout his life with Arizona State. You are not going to go find another guy like that just anywhere. So it was imperative for Arizona State, if they want to be taken seriously and they want to truly be competitive in this age, to do every damn thing imaginable that you could to keep this homegrown guy who actually loves it there in place, as opposed to doing what everybody else does, which is chasing the blue blood job and the blue blood money and the blue blood prestige. And maybe one day he'll go and do that, but it's not going to be anytime soon. And I think that's excellent news for ASU and excellent news for the Big 12 as a byproduct.
I am thrilled for Arizona State. I'm happy for Kenny Dillingham and his staff. They had that great year, and then this year things didn't go as well. Levitt, of course, in the portal. But I am happy that Arizona State stepped up. And I heard Graham Rossini, the AD, mention Michael Crow, the president, who's taken some heat about his commitment to athletics, saying that has not been the case whatsoever, that he was a driving force with this too. So he's coming back, or he's not leaving. And so Kenny Dillingham, blunt as he could possibly be on how Arizona State can thrive.
Find one of these really rich people in this city to step up and stroke a check, and I'll do everything I can to make you the most famous person in the city, right? That's really what we need. We need one person. We live in Phoenix, Arizona. You're telling me there's not one person who could stroke a $20 million check right now? There is somebody out here who can. There's somebody who can. There's somebody. And like other people are going to sacrifice to be here, somebody step up and be that dude to say, holy cow, what completely changed it? This person. There's somebody out there that's going to listen to this, that's going to get it forwarded it. If you know somebody who can do it, forward this message to somebody. Somebody can step up and completely take this place from the direction it's going to holy cow. And it's right here in the city.
All right, so he said a lot of other things too, including the fact that he was excited and all that. It was...
I hate
being
that.
honest, man, I thought it was a little greasy. But he is kind of unabashed about saying what he thinks, and that's what he was saying at the time.
I mean, I don't blame him. I blame the current state of college athletics that he's got to turn around right after getting new deals for himself, for his assistant coaches, for whatever other investments Arizona State's going to make with all of these new deals. You think that would just suffice, and then you turn around and you continue bowl prep, and everybody's happy, and we can move on from Michigan, and they can go hire Jed Fish or whoever they're going to hire, and it's no longer a worry, and hey, let's close this season out strong. But instead, moments after basically this all becoming official, he's turning right around and having to pander and beg for some millionaire to show up and be the ASU Cody Campbell or the ASU, whatever, Michael Dell or whoever is the other big time donors that are out there. And so I think that it's the time that we live in. And so he's got to kind of pander and politic and in some cases beg, which is pretty much almost what he's doing right there, for more and more and more, just to simply not to go win a national title, but to simply just remain competitive at a high level. And that's just where I wonder for fans out there, even the biggest of donors, of just when do you get fatigue on constantly having to be asked for money? The universities are already constantly asking you for money for the science department or for new scholarships or whatever. And then athletics has always asked you for money. But now, like, when does it ever stop? Like, I even see Joey McGuire, who's got it made in comparison to pretty much every other head coach out there. And he's very good about how he spins it. It's like, we're all in this. It's like COVID. Like, we're all in this together. Like, right? It's like, we're all in this together. This is why you should donate to the Red Raider Fund or whatever, the Matador Club or whatever. And it's like, God, you have more money than anybody, and you're still out here asking for more money. And you're doing it smartly because you're like, oh, we're all on the same team, and this is for all of us and all of our greater benefit. And he's right to an extent, but it's also like, just when is enough from the fans and the alumni and the donors? Because if you guys continuously ask for more and more and more, what are you asking for in 5 years from now? Like, when does it stop? And that's what I feel like. There's just a never-ending pursuit of more and more and more.
Can you imagine if an NFL owner or an owner of an NFL or professional franchise went on television begging or asking for more money so they could be more available or more active in free agency? They don't have to do that because they all are billionaires.
Well, I think that's
in college sports, that's not the case, but it's like right on the edge of that.
I don't know if I get where you're coming from. I don't know if it's the best example today when you've got a story like the Chiefs moving out of Kansas City proper to go to Kansas. I know it's right there, but
9 miles.
But they're bickering over stadium and funding, and so they're still always asking for money from the taxpayers. They just go about it a different way, and it's more political. I think that so long as you got the donors lined up that are ready to do it, like Texas Tech fans have no problem saying, all right, we'll answer the call again, and we'll answer the call again. And it's something that speaks to their passion and their commitment. And I think that Arizona State's probably got a lot of those people too. They just maybe don't have a Cody Campbell, or even if they do, he's not willing to spend his money in that way. He wants to spend it on something else entirely. And so everybody's looking for that big donor. I hate that Kenny, in this moment where it's all about like, oh, thank God he's staying, has to immediately feel the need to turn around and then go like, but here's what we need now. Because I just feel like the asking for something more and more never ends. Even the most successful programs with the biggest boosters, they're still asking constantly for more and more and more. And I just wonder, like, when does that well run dry, right? Like, when does that well run dry? And so I guess you keep digging until you hit that point. But for Arizona State, they could certainly use, based on the fact that Dillingham's said it not just in this setting, but many times before in other settings, they could sorely use a big-time person to step up. Does that person exist? I don't know. But
that's the thing. You might have billionaires, multimillionaires, but are they locked into what you want or what you do? If, for example, are they locked into athletics, or is it football, or is it the business degree, or whatever you call it?
Well, that's where Texas Tech was very unique in that Campbell had a vision. He knew he wanted to get athletics to a certain spot, along with all the others. He's just the one name that we always hear. I know there were other people involved, and they had a plan, and they executed that plan. Kenny Dillingham sounds like a guy where he needs to identify a Cody Campbell, first of all, then or somebody like him or the various other donors, and get those people together and then start to get to work on a plan. So they haven't even got the ball rolling. And if they want to take it to another level, then they took a huge first step in making sure that he goes nowhere. That's a great first step. But now, yes, now they need your money to go and get the players that Kenny Dillingham needs.
All right. So there was Kenny Dillingham, great, locked up, and then, all right, we need a donor. And Phoenix is it's a massive city. I remember living there in the late 60s as a kid, and then going back there for the Super Bowl when the Cowboys played the Steelers in 1995 and flew into it. I was like, oh my God, it's like exploded like Vegas. It's a monstrous city. Maybe some guys will be turned off by that. There'll be some guys, screw you, because they have other interests, but there might be, all you need is one or two, and you're in pretty good shape. All right, the rest of the portal. Coaching carousel. You got one other thing to add?
Oh, no, just check your messages as we go through here.
But yeah. You've got another one?
No. Let's hit the rest of the coaching real quick.
All right. Jordan Peterson is back at K-State, back homegrown at K-State. The defensive coordinator handles the defensive backs for Colin Klein, who just coached his last game, of course, for A&M. They also, there's a player we'll get to in the portal. Also, Elijah Robinson, he's bounced around, one of the highest thought of defensive linemen, great recruiters in college football. He is headed back to Texas A&M. Fantastic run at Syracuse with Fran Brown, but he's one of the they didn't have the greatest run. They had one good year, but a guy that's known for being an elite recruiter and headed back to Texas A&M.
I mean, Jordan Peterson, a guy awfully familiar for Kansas State fans, obviously bring him back over from A&M. I think a bugaboo for A&M and the way the last couple of weeks have unfolded is how distracted were all of our coaches with all of this. Colin Klein's going and taking the K-State job. Jordan Peterson's going to K-State. with him. I think you at least have a little part of you wondering, like, how distracted were we? And would it have mattered? Would it have made Marcel Reed play that much better? Probably not. Would it made him not throw an interception in the end zone at the end of the game? Probably not. But I think that's something you just kind of wonder. And every team this time of year is like, can you hold it together long enough to just get to the end of it and not take on too much water like Ole Miss is attempting to do right now? So A&M's had a little bit of movement, but Peterson makes a ton of sense as a hire for Klein's staff. And I think that'll be a fun program to follow this offseason as they kind of rejuvenate themselves and get things going in the right direction post Chris Kleiman, with how just kind of weird that all ended and disappointing that all was.
All the coaching changes that are going on where guys that take jobs and then they fill, some of them stay. Like, for example, Ole Miss coaches went back from LSU. Kiffin's gone. Summerall still coached it out, although he was leaving for Florida. Golish and it's like, I get it, but it also, to me, like, really does dampen how you start in the early part of the offseason to get to a point to be a part of maybe a conference championship game or bowl game or college football playoff or whatever. And then about 2/3 of the way there, you're running on a couple of pair of tires that are damaged because of defections. It does seem to be a little bit much for me.
Well, I think Peterson's got a ton of experience in the state of Kansas. He's with the Jayhawks for a while. Has been around the Big 12. So I think, and then the familiarity with Colin Klein obviously coming over, I think he'll fit in really nicely in Manhattan. And then Elijah Robinson, I mean, that can be taken a couple different ways. I mean, he was the D coordinator, was he not, at Syracuse? So now you're coming back to A&M a couple years removed from leaving, when at the time you were kind of a big name assistant coach, and now you're kind of being demoted to where you're going back to just being a position coach. So maybe I'm reading too much into that, but that was sort of my first thought with Elijah Robinson. He had a lot of success at A&M. He was a great recruiter, and he'll do a good job, I'm sure, but his trajectory's just gotten a little wobbly.
He'll get more money doing that at A&M than he probably got as a coordinator at Syracuse. All right, here's Super Chat Frenzy today, led by so many of you amazing people who I want to sound like Ross Perot. You people, amazing viewers. Kim Coulter, Reckham, bonus number 3 to staff member Brandon Rowe. Thank you for all your hard work during the next year. Man. Reckham bonus number 4, $100 banger. Staff member Garrett Ross. Thank you for all your hard work during the year. Kim, you are an retired stockbroker. Dustin, those of you who have put the Super Chats together today are just crazy good. We appreciate the holiday mood from you today.
Yeah, you keep it up, and we're not going to get these guys back. They're going to be
they're going to be like
pay raises.
It'd be like Lane Kiffin.
But no, I mean that's very generous and kind, especially this time of year, and I know that they'll put that to good use. So appreciate you appreciating them.
Still alive, 365. You, all of you. I mentioned, I think, everybody that has. Now let's get to the portal. Rocco Beck out. He's leaving Iowa State, informed the coaches. 26 wins at Iowa State as a starter. There was his Cyclone Nation, enters the portal. First thing I thought about was, okay, Matt Campbell's going to Penn State, so he's there. Is that where he might end up, or is it going to be somewhere else just looking for a quarterback perhaps in another conference?
Well, this dropped, Friday afternoon, I think after Friday evening maybe, is when this first came out, so we were already off the air by the time this had happened, and I suppose it's not shocking with the change at head coach. That's something that you probably expected was a strong possibility. And I know, kind of reading the tea leaves from Iowa State fans, that they thought that Beck leaving was something that could happen. But it's not just about him. They've had multiple big-time players. He's the headliner because he's the starting quarterback, but they've had a lot of good players that have jumped into the portal here in the last few days. So, again, that also to be expected when you lose a head coach. And the odds are a lot of those guys probably will end up at Penn State, the better ones especially. Now, they also are free and clear to move because their head coach is left and the portal's now in session, basically. So they could also be chasing money elsewhere. But, yeah, I would think Rocco Becht in Penn State would make a lot of sense, at least this first year for Matt Campbell. And it's just a shame. I think we need to have a conversation perhaps tomorrow on how bad of a look it is for the Big 12 that they're losing nearly a handful of top quarterbacks that all could be returning to their respective schools next year. Now, in the case of Brendan Sorsby, maybe he's still in the league because he ends up at Texas Tech, as everybody expects to happen. So that's not really an indictment on anything other than Texas Tech's money compared to Cincinnati's, or him just wanting to get back home to Texas, or a combination thereof. But when you have Rocco Becht now probably leaving the league, Josh Hoover, who was a mainstay and a headliner, probably leaving the league. And am I missing somebody? Is there another one that's out there as well?
You mentioned Levitt.
Sam Levitt probably leaving the league. I mean, those 4 guys might have been your top 4 returning quarterbacks, and now all 4 are gone heading into the next season. So again, kind of talking about the playoff thing, don't look down your nose too much if you're a Big 12 or an ACC fan, because I mean, look at the way this is kind of now working. Is you were a league who at the beginning of the year was touting your quarterbacks, and that was kind of the headliner heading into the season. And now all these pretty good to potentially great quarterbacks, they're all leaving left and right for probably other greener pastures in the Big Ten or the SEC or perhaps elsewhere. And I think Sorsby will stick around and will probably go to Tech. But, I mean, that's still 3 other guys who are 3 pretty damn good players, and Josh Hoover, Sam Levitt, and Rocco Becht that are all leaving.
Let's do this. All right. UCF, their quarterback situation's in flux. No one there that's leaving that would be a banger name. West Virginia, Rodriguez looks like he feels like he maybe adds somebody, but he's got his guy that he started to play last year. Baylor loses Sawyer Robertson.
Scotty Fox. I mean, Scotty Fox, I think is probably the future there.
No, I like he put up some numbers that they got work to do, but he got a chance to get a little taste of it. Sawyer Robertson leaving for the National Football League, so that's not a portal, but that's a loss. Hoover, I mean, golly, gone. Houston's got the young phenom freshman coming in.
Well, they got Connor Wegman will be
and
back.
Wigman's back for a year, so that's one that's a win. Oklahoma State, of course, they're in flux. Kansas, Jalen Daniels gone. K-State, Avery Johnson appears to be coming back for another year, but still time to see what happens there.
I think he would want to play for Colin Klein.
Absolutely.
He watched what Colin Klein did with a guy like Marcel Reed, probably feels great about sticking around. And Colin Klein also being a K-State guy through and through, and a previous relationship. I think all that will probably play well into K-State's hand. We'll see. But I mean, I think the point is there's going to be a lot of changeover next year. But you're mentioning teams who either have guys who are graduated and moving on because they have to move on, like Baylor or Kansas. And then you have teams who are still figuring it out, like UCF, West Virginia. I mean, Scotty Fox had some good moments, but I don't think that precludes them from going and getting a big-time portal quarterback if there was a guy that was interested in coming to Morgantown. But as far as the guys who could come back, Avery Johnson's a guy who appears like he's probably staying. I mean, Baron Morton will be gone. That's another one, but that's by eligibility standards. But as far as the guys who could come back and would command big money from the schools they would be returning to, as Hoover would, as Sorsby would, as Levitt would, those guys are choosing to go elsewhere for more money, or maybe in Rocco Becht's case, just chasing his former head coach, and that would make a lot of sense there. But I do think it, at least from one angle, does make you look like you're being poached by the 2 bigger leagues, right? Depending on where these guys end up. If they all end up in the ACC, then that'll be a little bit of a different conversation. But yeah, it's a little bit of a cause for concern, not serious concern at the moment, but it's something to monitor, because you don't want to be picking off the G5 quarterbacks and then you become the feeder system for the SEC and Big Ten to replace their quarterbacks.
No, yeah. It all goes downhill. In this case, they might be going uphill. One more note on a couple other transfers. Here's a young man that's incredibly talented, Byron Brown, USF. At one point, his name early in the year when USF was rolling, you saw people even have him in the odds for the Heisman Trophy, 3,158 yards, 1,000 yards rushing, 42 total touchdowns. He has entered the portal.
Well, it would make a lot of sense to go to Auburn, wouldn't it? To go play with his former head coach there, and Alex Golish. And I think that would make a lot of sense. But I think like with Sam Levitt or Brendan Sorsby or any of these DJ Lagway, any of these quarterbacks who have thrown their name into the portal so far, I think some of them probably know exactly where they're going already. Josh Hoover, Indiana, was something that was basically stamped, double stamped, triple stamped, and it's not official, but you feel like that's pretty much all but done. Brennan Sorsby in Texas Tech, another one where immediately it's like, oh, he's going to Tech. But I think Byron Brown, it seems like, it would make a lot of sense for him to go to Auburn, but he'd be stupid to not just play the market and hear the offers first, especially with the year that he had. I mean, USF was in the playoff consideration there for a bit, in the American race there for a bit. And he started off like a house on fire and got some early season Heisman buzz that eventually just got died off or got overtaken by conversations around Mendoza and whoever else. But he's a really talented player, and I think Auburn fans would be more than happy. Now, I don't know what they're saying on their boards and what other options they may have, but I mean, you put 2 and 2 together, a quarterback who just lost their head coach to a big job like that, makes sense that he might follow.
That's like when I saw Beck enter the portal. I don't think as quickly as I probably should, but I was like, oh, his coach is at Penn State. Doesn't mean that's the answer, but that's the option.
Auburn does have a good little quarterback, a young quarterback too, though. So, I mean, you never know.
That's
you never
true.
know.
Keaton Thomas, probably the best player defensively on Baylor. They've had a lot of players leave. In some cases, when teams struggle, you want probably a lot of players to leave. Not taking it personally, but Keaton Thomas, KT, this first of all is a great interview. Fantastic personality and a hell of a player. He has entered the transfer portal.
I know we got another one we'll get to as far as a linebacker in the Big 12 that will be moving on as well.
Yes.
And Joe Klanderman is a former K-State assistant, and so we'll get to that connection there. But I think with Klanderman taking over at Baylor, you could see where there would be some turnover in the roster. It's just odd, though, that one of the first names, I believe he was asked at the press conference, right, was about Keaton Thomas because he's the most seasoned, experienced, and like leadership type of guy left on the defensive side of the football. And so you thought that'd maybe be your anchor for Klanderman to start off things, but I don't know what their conversations were like. I don't know what maybe others are offering Keaton Thomas. I mean, he's like a fifth-year guy at this point, right? So, I mean, he's been around for a while. He's not some young buck, former highly rated guy. He's a guy who's just had a really solid college career, so I think people will be interested in his services, no doubt. But I wonder how much of this was outside interest, or maybe he's not a perfect fit for what they're going to be doing moving forward, right? Or I don't know. I don't know what led to this, but I know it's a little bit bittersweet because he was a fan favorite. So regardless of what pushed him into the portal, whether by choice or not, I wish him well because he's a really good dude from all indications, and we enjoyed interviewing him.
My contact back and forth with a couple people within the program, this was not good. They did not expect this.
Okay,
they wanted him back. This was not they wanted him back. And can you imagine if Klanderman could have him and then possibly this next name, Kansas State linebacker Austin Romaine? I don't know where he's going, but he enters the portal, 2-year all Big 12 linebacker. And that doesn't mean because Klanderman's at Baylor, but Chris Kleiman's gone. They have a change. Maybe he's going to stay, but that was one where if you could have kept KT Thomas and brought in a couple of others, but no, the KT Thomas attrition was not something that I think the staff was expecting.
Well, then knowing that, then I tried to spin it positively somewhat, but knowing now that that's in fact the case, I was afraid that was the case because that's the worst scenario is that he just decided to leave. So if they were hoping to rely on him, then that's a big anchor, like I said, that they could have built around, and now they're having to replace him, and that's going to be a lot easier said than done given his experience and talent level. So the hits keep on coming for Baylor, but I'll entrust in Klanderman. And if he's able to turn around and go bring Austin Romaine in because they have a prior connection in Manhattan, then I think that would definitely soften the blow of losing Keaton Thomas. But I also think that Austin Romaine is probably seeing his phone ring off the hook and his DMs fill up because he's a very productive and talented player who is really, really good, all conference, multiple seasons for K-State. And so I think he's going to have a lot of suitors pursuing him. And I think Klanderman will be one of them because it'd be stupid not to. We'll see how it shakes out, but I could see this guy landing pretty much anywhere. I know that I've seen Texas Tech fans in the mentions. They want Thomas and Romaine because they're about to go shopping this offseason. So they want both those guys, especially losing a guy like Jacob Rodriguez this offseason. But, Romaine, not sure how expected that was, but that's definitely a big splash and a name on the defensive side in the portal.
That one surprised me, so I reached out, and, that was one that maybe blindsided them. That doesn't mean they are done, but, he read the old thing. You get the statement, I appreciate all your time, but just like you did with Rocco Becht and others. All right, that's a lot. We got to it. Perfect time in the 4 o'clock hour to get through all of the news, the notes, and whatever else involved, the discussion and topics. Phil Bennett now breaks down what happened during the games this past weekend, also the upcoming games, not this weekend, but New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, and his thoughts about other coaches who are on their way, and even on Coach Klanderman, the new head coach or new defensive coordinator at Baylor. We do appreciate you. The super chat from a lot of you. Kim, yes. Retired stockbroker, yes. We got one more. Here's another one. Michael, oh my God, S. Michael DeHart, we love you. West Virginia. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year's. From this Mountaineer, I'm a Red Raider until Kim brings home the national championship to the Big 12.
Well, S. Michael, do appreciate you. And, man, freaking Kim, man, you are going insane. You're truly Santa Claus today, along with some others as well. But, bonus number 5 for 365 staff member Logan Begessi. Thank you for all of your hard work during the day. Look at you, Logan, getting the shout out here. And the hundo.
There's got to be a discount here because he's been here for a week.
But S. Michael, you've been along for the ride for a long time, as has Kim, and so we appreciate you guys more than you know, especially as you keep delivering those super chats. But anything is something we're thankful for, much less all of the stuff today. So taken aback by it a little bit, but do appreciate it.
Yeah, I have like 3 or 4 kids that nobody knows about. If you want to send them super chats too, Kim, we'd appreciate it. No, really, thank you so much. Your generosity. You do this every year since you started watching our show and the super chat on 365 Sports. When we come back, it's Phil Bennett. We do appreciate you. This is 365 Sports. Ideal. MRI.com, you see their logo in the corner of our screen occasionally. There it is, just like that, Brandon. Very well done. Ideal MRI, where Dr. Rob Maxey and his partners put together a business that has just been fantastic. They have an MRI machine that will get what your doctor needs. If it's a possibility of a torn muscle, a ligament damage, or maybe something gnarly in your lower back that creates problems, they are going to find it. You get referred to by your doctor. Ideal MRI will contact you. You go there. There's not a long wait. It's amazing to me. I've been there 4 times for actual MRIs. I don't think I ever was waiting more than 8 to 12 minutes. And then it's the process to get in there. They are wonderful. The Texan specialists make it comfortable for even if you are claustrophobic, which I can be. I've never had a problem in their machine. A couple of others, I got a little spooked. They do a great job. $497 or less every single time. Get the evidence your doctor needs. So let's say they think it's a ligament or a muscle or something, and it doesn't show up like that as a problem in your MRI. Then you can go find maybe another diagnosis or another way to help the pain be fixed. It's Ideal MRI in the Central Texas Marketplace off I-35 in Waco.
When you play hard, sometimes you fall hard. Sports injuries require special treatment. At Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, our team of expert doctors provides athletes and active adults with comprehensive sports medicine care, diagnostics, whether you're in high school, college, or beyond, we'll help you get back on the field. Call on the team physicians for Baylor Athletics. Call Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, your bank for life.
UBO Business Services. We are a studies-based service organization that is the best in Texas when it comes to copiers, printers, and scanners. The way we quantify that is through a company used by millions of corporations called Net Promoter Score. What Net Promoter Score looks at are your Google reviews. We have a better Net Promoter Score than H-E-B with a 65 and Ritz-Carlton Hotels with a 70. According to Net Promoter Score, if you're a 70 or above, you're considered world-class in customer service. UBO Business Services is an 86 when it comes to Net Promoter Score. You can find us at ubeo.com, ubeo.com.
What does being different mean to me? You know, that is an interesting question.
Because there really isn't one way. There's a bunch of different ways you could do it.
This is the Sonos Arc Ultra, and this is what you need to know about. It represents one of the easiest ways to get into high-quality home cinema without loads of cables and faffing around. And that's because the Arc Ultra provides full Dolby Atmos without any rear speakers thanks to its sound motion technology. And Sonos is actually calling sound motion one of the most significant breakthroughs in audio engineering in nearly 100 years. It's an amazing setup, it sounds absolutely fantastic, I love the absence of fat. If you're a Sonos person, there's a reason you're watching this video.
It's time to compete against yourself. Finding too many excuses not to work out combined with bad eating habits, and Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness can help reach inside your competitive soul. Discipline, getting results you've only dreamed about, personal training, group exercise classes, and even a tanning bed, world-class tennis facility, and pickleball courts and lessons available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness, spacious, clean workout rooms, free weights, state-of-the-art technology, weight training equipment, and no intimidation. It's time for you to react today, not tomorrow, at Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
We start this 5 o'clock hour with Phil Bennett, just as loyal as possible, great guest, analyzes college football. We have a lot of fun talking about many other things. And in that, little bit chilly, or is it warm? It got a little warm today, didn't it, Phil?
Hell, it's 80.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Man, you should have been on the golf course.
You know, I had my knee scoped on Wednesday.
You told me it locked up on you like a few weeks ago.
I'm getting all my deductibles done.
Okay, so Craig's here with me, and here we go. A&M, did they shit the bed?
You know, David, and I mean this. You win 11 games, you've had a good season.
Mm-hmm.
No question. But let's be honest, it was not a championship season. They were not a championship team. Not explosive on offense. Too many explosives on defense. I think they did have a benefit of a good schedule. Didn't play Ole Miss. Didn't play Georgia. Didn't play Alabama. Didn't play Tennessee. And played a down. LSU coach got fired. Florida's coach got fired. Auburn's coach got fired. So I never want to say it's luck to win games, but they had a good schedule and they had a good year, but not a championship year.
Coach, how did you feel about the close to the season for Marcel Reed? Do you think that those things, those warts, or maybe that the nerves that kind of appeared at times were always present, but the winning kind of washed it out? Or do you think that was something that grew in the later stages of the season?
Craig, I think he's like a lot of quarterbacks. I think without a running game, he becomes very average. If you look at the games, go back to Notre Dame, go to Missouri, go to LSU. A&M was able to run the ball, and they complimented him. I think that Miami was good on defense, but at the same time, too many forced plays. I think too many mistakes at that position, and I think he was stressing a little bit. And I think you saw it too. I mean, the overthrow was a big play, and then late in the game, throwing behind. I really did. I was sitting up there, and I told a friend of mine, I said, hey, they're going to come back and tie this game and win it. And we just didn't make the plays to do it.
So Miami now, I mean, that's huge for them, huge for the ACC as well, given kind of all of the talk heading into this thing that they move on and they'll play Ohio State. Do you think you could have won some games with Ruben Bain and some of those guys on that Canes defense?
Woo! He was impressive. You know, we have a player that they've touted all year, and he literally dominated him. And he's 6'7", and he plays fast. He is really, really a good football player.
So it was a great win, obviously, for Mario Cristobal as well. The ACC needed that. So the defense there. As a defensive guy, I remember when you guys had the 61-58. It was a great game because you won it against TCU. But as a defensive guy, we don't see many of what we saw from that game. Was that just a style, the matchups, or what?
I think you look at teams, those two teams, neither one of them, some people say, well, Miami's been explosive, in the ACC. Well, A&M's a better defense than most ACC's defense. But you can't forget, I talked to Casey Horney, who was with me at Baylor this week, and he said, we thought we should have beat them worse. And so they were beaten, by SMU, and that's the thing that's going to stick in these people's craw here. They come 105,000 people. It was a unbelievable atmosphere, and they couldn't get it done.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I mean, it seemed like the Miami fans had a great time, were welcomed in as Aggies do, and it was just, I mean, the sport has a lot of problems. The playoff has some issues that need to be worked out, but the first round home playoff game, I think that has been something that is undoubtedly perfect. Yeah.
I don't even know if the guy knew me, but it's funny you say that. I'm leaving the box and some guy grabbed me and he said, y'all have the best fans ever. So hospitable. And I said, well, when you win, it's easy to say that.
Yeah.
That's very true. All right, so there was another competitive game and one that was much different stylistically. OU jumps out heavy and in a hurry on Bama on Friday night. Everybody by like mid-second quarter is saying the game's over. It's a blowout. And then Oklahoma has some mistakes, some big mistakes. Alabama makes some plays, and next thing you know, the Tide are rolling. Your thoughts on another OU playoff loss and just kind of how it all unfolded from both perspectives?
I think, Craig, the quarterback at OU has not played well since he was injured. Mm-hmm. The play of the game, without question, was the third down play. He breaks containment, and he could have run for the first down, and I mean, it would have been a 30-yard run. He decides to throw it. He overthrows it. They have to punt blocked, game changed. I mean, they go down field goal, and that momentum that they had was gone like that. And I just think that they played very well defensively, no doubt, like we all thought they would. They came out well, couldn't sustain it on offense.
Speaking of an offense, Oregon blows out James Madison. Everyone thought that thing could get away, and it did. It was never close, despite like 51-34. If I'd have said, hey, it was 51-34, it could have been a shootout. It wasn't. Oregon's got an unbelievable amount of speed, offense that's explosive. They can play defense, too. How are they in Tech with that defense that Joey has? What about this kind of a chess match we have coming up in a couple of weeks?
I really think it's going to be a special game. I think it's a very good matchup. I think it's going to be very competitive. Obviously, what you just said, I am truly impressed with Tech's defense, how they line up, how fast they play, their knowledge of what they're doing. If they play and they're able to move the ball and keep their quarterback healthy, Tech's going to be hard to beat in this playoff.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an incredible – I'm very torn right now on who to even go with. I feel like it's a toss-up. I think it's just a true toss-up with two pretty evenly matched teams, and hopefully a game where we don't see an Oregon-James Madison sort of final score there. And I guess, Phil, I want to ask you, I mean, you spent time all over the place, all over the country. Your last couple of years was at North Texas, which I think was probably the smallest school that you coached at.
Yeah, most fun, yeah. And maybe the most fun I had.
No. Well, there you go. So maybe the most fun, but you see all this conversation. Does James Madison belong in? Does Tulane belong in? Would North Texas have belonged in? Do they need their own playoff? Like, where do you sit on all that, especially in light of these immediate results we see? And look, there's been name teams that get blown out in the playoff. There's just not enough good teams every year to constitute having competitive games across the board. But how do you feel about the Tulanes, the JMUs, and those schools of the world having their opportunity?
I think we've talked about this before. The people that I know in the business, within a year or two, Craig, there's going to be a super division, and then there's going to be the lower division. There's going to be 4 16 teams, and it's going to be a true playoff championship. And I think when we get to that, we will have gotten it right. Nothing against Tulane or James Madison, but you probably could have had anywhere from 15 to 20 other teams that were better than both those teams.
So
for what it is, it was fair.
Yeah, it's not their fault, but the ACC spit the bit. And so, Phil, let's say you were coaching a G5. You were the head coach, the athletic director, the university president. What would you accept to pull away? Now, they could maybe just tell you, you're done, like the Big Ten and the SEC. How much would it, what would you want to do your own championship playoff and just give up the fact you might have a puncher's chance?
I think that what they're talking about, Smoak, they're talking about them staying in the NCAA under the rules of the current NCAA.
Mm-hmm.
And then the championship division goes under the playoff people. I think I told you this before, I think they'll appoint a commissioner. They'll create their own rules. I think there'll be a salary structure, and I think they'll have their own, whatever you call it, their protocol of what they do. And I think it will be 2 different divisions. I think that the smaller schools will have their championship, and then the championship level will have theirs. Now, at the same time, I think that they will help each other with the television contracts.
Right.
Because that people still want to watch the North Texas. They want to watch the Tulanes. They want to watch the James Madisons. There's still a base there that want to see that.
Do you think it's better for those schools, so long as they're still involved in the rule making, all that, but to have your own separate championship to pursue, as opposed to, hey, making this playoff and getting blown out? Like, for you as a leader of a program, would you rather JMU, if you were leading them, have this path to a national championship with like teams, or is it too much to pass up? Well, we want to be like Tennessee. Give us a crack at them.
You and I know this. It's sometimes you have to accept who you are and what you are.
Right.
And I think, in all fairness, it would have been I would have loved to have seen James Madison and Tulane play. That would have been a hell of a game.
Yeah.
And James Madison, to their credit, I'm telling you, they didn't quit. It wasn't a close game, but I know it was close enough to piss Dan Lanning off.
Oh, my God, he was furious. Yeah. He said, not good enough.
I'm going to tell you something. I've had games like that where you sit there and you play lights out the first half, you come out the second half, and hell, I remember one time at Baylor, we played a good West Virginia team, and I think we beat them 70-38, but we put Seth, when he was our backup, in the game, Seth Russell, and I swear to God, he threw 3 pick sixes. and the score ended up 70-34, and I'm sitting there thinking, you got to be shitting me.
73-42, young man.
42, yeah.
Yeah. And they scored the last 28 points or so of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you walk off the field. I remember Eddie Lackey had played a hell of a game. They had a running back named Smallwood that came in there. I think he was leading the NCAA, and we killed him. And Eddie came up to me and said, all right, good game, coach. And I turned and snapped at him. He goes, God damn, what's wrong with you?
Coach, any thoughts? We kind of already talked a little bit about this, the overall big picture. Any thoughts on that Ole Miss Tulane rematch? Pete Golding, his first time having the full reins of the situation. They move on to the next round amidst all of this Kiffin conversation. Anything jump out to you about that game?
I loved Jackson, Mississippi. They had a meme. They had what's his name, Kiffin up in his office with a toddy watching the game and said, somebody on the sideline says, "What was his name? What's the guy's name?"
Yeah.
Right.
And listen, he's not a major contributor on game day. People, Herb Street blows him up. All these people blow him up. Listen, Charlie called the plays. He built that offense, and that's why he's going to LSU with him.
I thought what Golding said about Charlie Weiss Jr. in the postgame to make sure that he got the credit for the offense that he runs, as you said, and that because if they would have played poorly, they would have blamed Charlie Weiss Jr. If they play well offensively, well, Kiffin's offense was just set in stone.
That's right.
I thought Golding, that for coaches, the fraternity of coaches, man, they all had to feel really good about what he said.
I liked him when he said, they asked him, he goes, I'm not changing. He goes, I'm damn sure not starting yoga.
Oh, my God. So, Will Muschamp coming back to Austin, young man.
Wow. I mean, and it's all the offense's fault. He didn't blame the defense.
No.
He's got to spend more time with the offense. I'm going to tell you, I've known Pete. I thought he did a wonderful job at Texas. It's the way of the world now. But it's I will tell you this. I don't think anybody that's played Texas during his tenure has thought that they weren't very well prepared, recruited well, evaluated well. And I can promise you, when they played Ohio State in that Cotton Bowl last year, it damn sure wasn't the defense's issues.
No, it was not. They couldn't run the football most of the year. That didn't help. I thought the defense is what got them to the semifinals with what they had. So,
they did. And listen, I like Will, but Will's been out of the game, and Will hadn't really called the defense since he became a head coach. And he when he went to Georgia, he just wasn't he wasn't the guy. And the other young man who's still doing it sort of took control of it. So it's going to be interesting. And I'll tell you something. The game has changed since Will called defenses in 2008, 9, and 10. I know this. Art used to tell me that they would always be bragging about Will and Venables. He said, Bennett, I'd like to play them every week.
Yeah, well, he turned the corner against them. Muschamp, is it more aggressive style? What would it be?
Dave, I think that probably so. I think he's a little bit more of a pressure guy. I think that he will a little bit more man-to-man. Now, let me say this, too. I'm not sure Pete wanted Dwayne Akina back. Dwayne Akina is a straight man-to-man guy. And if you have some of the guys he's had, NFL-wise, you can do that. But, their biggest problem this year was pass yardage. I mean, I think they were in the hundreds and giving up touchdowns and big plays on the pass game.
Merry Christmas to you. Happy holidays to you and Julie. Appreciate you for everything.
All right.
And thank you for being a part of the show. Look forward to it.
Y'all do a great game, and I appreciate you letting me be a part of it.
Man, it's a great segment. Our viewers love it. Phil, thank you, buddy. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, guys.
Good luck
All
with the
right.
knee.
Yeah.
All right. Phil Bennett, long time, 44 years in college football. And then also our show, Mondays, analyzing. I try to see if we can get him on next Monday to discuss the games coming up like we did a little bit of, but we appreciate his time. All right. When we come back, we will have the quizzes. We will have the poll results. And then also the head basketball coach at Wichita State, Paul Mills, with a very emotional postgame after they played over the weekend about what he went through, and nobody knew about it. We'll have that and more. He was on the Baylor staff for a while. Oral Roberts, of course, too. And this is 365 Sports.
Oh, Richard Carr, Buick GMC, how lovely are your SUVs. Oh, Richard Carr, Buick GMC, I love the trucks you have for me. Strong and tough with luxury. room for all my family. Oh, Richard Carr, Buick GMC, you are the dealership for me.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Have you heard of the new IRA? The new IRA, Insured Retirement Advantage, is a solution for high-income individuals and business owners who want to grow and protect their wealth without locking up capital or taking unnecessary risks. If you're an asset manager or a licensed insurance agent looking to provide your clients with guaranteed tax-free retirement income and legacy protection, the new IRA Insured Retirement Advantage is an option you need to know more about and is only available exclusively from North Star Funding Partners. For more information, go to northstarfundingpartners.com and tell them 365 Sports sent you.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott understand these are difficult and changing times we live in, but they know how important your financial investments are to you. So is your financial advisor staying in touch with you and helping you navigate today's financial climate? Invest with Edward Jones Financial Advisors Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, who invest their time and experience back to you and your money. And like coaching athletes, investing money is about time, patience, and encouragement. Contact Ben Erlinson at 254-759-8533. Brad Wilson's location at 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, and Cam Heathcott in Conroe. Edward Jones Financial Advisors, Ben Erlinson, Brad Wilson, and Cam Heathcott, proud sponsors of 365 Sports. Edward Jones, making sense of investing, member SIPC.
We're back, 365 Sports. Before we get to the quizzes and also the poll results, Paul Mills is the head coach at Oral Roberts University. He was at Wichita State University. He was at Oral Roberts. He was on staff at Baylor with Scott Drew for 14 years. Was a major part of the success they had. He, in the postgame, I happened to see this, and I had a lot of different people ask me if I'd seen it, including a great friend of ours, Tim Maloney, who is unbelievable when it comes to basketball knowledge. Here's Paul Mills in the postgame after they win, discussing a situation that about how he almost wasn't there to coach the game this weekend.
And they told my wife after they went in and put in multiple stents in order to allow blood flow, they said, we are not sure about his quality of life. They brought in a chaplain after the surgery to my wife, and so you can imagine what she was thinking to the chaplain and the cardiologist. And blood flow is 60 is ideal, or is premium. 55 to 60 is ideal, and I was a 58. And because the event happened where I was there, I'm turned out that there is 0. I actually feel better. It's as if you have a water shower, a shower with very little water pressure, and all of a sudden somebody comes in and remodels, and they put 3 extra shower heads in and they turn up the shower head. Like I feel as good as I've ever felt simply because there's blood flow. And I had zero idea that I had 100% blockage in my right coronary artery. And all of this, people have asked, like, can you give us the medical name of what's occurring? And the truth is I can't. I can't pronounce it. I really don't know. But I kind of look at this as the same way as I do our players. They'll ask, hey, what position do I play? And I'm like, there's 2 positions, guys. There's on the court and there's off of it. This is what I think of my condition. There's 2 conditions. There's death and there's life. And I have life, and that I'm grateful for. And it's one of those things where you and I, we get so busy with our lives that we got a tendency to ignore the people that we have responsibilities to. And I would tell you, pursue life, man, and do it with force. Do not skip those physicals. I'm fortunate, I'm extremely blessed, and I'm grateful. So I say all of that to say happy holidays and Merry Christmas.
I've known Paul a long time, interviewed him, great guy, kept up with him when he went to Oral Roberts in Wichita State. 100% blockage after they had just beaten Northern Iowa, and then he had that event, and very fortunate. And I had a lot of people ask me if I would play it, and that's Paul Mills. Great guy, glad he's okay. Obviously, you could tell he's not quite, obviously, 100% because of what he went through. So there we are with Wichita State basketball coach Paul Mills. We love him. Now, quizzes. Can we do this with just 2 of us? I think so. Which NFL team stadium is famously nicknamed the Big Toaster?
I have no earthly idea on this. I don't feel like I've ever even heard that term before. I'm not big on, I guess, stadium information, so this isn't in my wheelhouse at all. I have no earthly idea.
I'm going to say it's probably Phoenix. I believe it is.
As you stare at your computer screen.
No. That's the thing about Paul Mills. I think because it does look a little bit different than, like, all stadiums have a different view on the outside, but I'm going to say the one in Phoenix, Arizona.
I don't know why. For some reason, I think Lucas Oil, but I'll default to State Farm. And
Andrew.
Cardinals.
There it is. A State Farm Stadium, known as the Big Toaster due to its sheet metal exterior. That might be what it looks like. And unique retractable roof design. It's the first NFL stadium with fully retractable natural grass honoring Pat Tillman with a memorial statue on the outside. They have a huge sliding, like there's a field, so they let the sun help the grass grow and keep it healthy. Then they shove it underneath to get it to the stadium. It's an amazing retractable part of the stadium.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have that at this point, the roll in, roll out turf and things that you can use, and especially if you host multiple events. But yeah, I didn't know it was called the Big Toaster. Been there for a game. It was in a parking lot out in the middle of absolute nowhere. I don't know if that's still the case or not. Haven't been back in several years, but it was definitely one of your newer NFL stadiums where it's not in the main city. It's in some sub-city, and it's
Glendale.
Yeah, but I'm just saying in general, there are a lot of NFL stadiums that aren't in Chicago. They're now moving it to the suburbs or whatever, and this is an example of that in practice over the last few years, where when we went, it was just in a parking lot with very, very little around it. And maybe it's grown up around there, but that's my memory of it. I didn't know it was called the Big Toaster.
Yeah, it was in the middle of that expansion now. That's all that on the west side of Phoenix. How much did George Halas originally pay to purchase the Chicago Bears in 1920? No way it would be $1 million.
I mean, I'm going with either 10,000 or 100,000. I'm trying to figure out which one would make more sense here. In 1920, like
I'm not. I don't know what the cost of living changes. I want to just say 10,000. I don't know. I have no idea if we're going to.
I mean, that's probably like $100,000 back in 1920. It also seems like. I mean, I'm not trying to compare it to NFL numbers nowadays, where it's hundreds of millions or billions actually, but. I'm really torn between those two.
You pick this one.
No, I'm going to pick what you pick so I can blame it on you if you're wrong. 10,000 was what we'll go with.
All right. This is,
$100.
$100 damn dollars.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Bears,
Nice sound effect there.
What the hell? The Bears
Turn
had
your
a
mic off,
huge
Garrett.
win. The Bears had an unbelievable win to beat the Packers, getting the onside kick and then the overtime touchdown. But there you go, George Hallis, the Staley Company.
Okay,
Tiny
I
Sum,
cannot.
even
I
in
can't.
1920.
I cannot.
Go ahead and
deal with
interrupt
you.
me.
Just thank you, because the way you just skip over words randomly
Well, it's on the
bothers
screen.
me.
It's not. Go ahead.
No, George
Read it.
Hallis bought the
Good.
team. Tiny sum. Team moved. Year later, Bears franchise $9 billion. Hallis purchase.
Yeah, see?
Legendary investment.
That makes sense.
Papa Bear. Like that's how I feel sometimes.
NFL powerhouse.
But there you go. $100 would not have known that at all. And I guess we got some updates going on the screen here now as well.
Here we go. $100 for the Chicago Bears, one of the absolute amazing franchises that this year playing well with Caleb Williams at quarterback. All right. Which portal quarterback do you want for your team? Craig?
Do you need to answer this phone call that's on the screen here? It's FaceTime, whoever's trying to get in touch with you, because it's on our screen right here. Which portal quarterback do you want for your team? I would say
I said Sorsby.
I think I would say Sorsby. Rocco Becht's a fine player, but I think Sorsby's better. Drew Mestemaker had a great year, but I think also that he's very unpolished at this point, and not very unpolished. He's a younger guy still. So then it's down to Sorsby and Levitt, and I just don't love what I hear about Sam Levitt. As far as, I don't think he's like some bad dude, but like his agent / brother, and sort of the shopping around. And I mean, I guess Sorsby's being shopped around as well, but I don't know. Just some of the stuff I've heard surrounding Levitt just kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit. And I don't know. It makes it sound like he wasn't all that well liked. I mean, maybe I'm just misreading it, but I feel like that was not the case with Sorsby. So I would go with Brandon Sorsby here, personally.
I said Sorsby, but Levitt is the pick, 40%, Sorsby, and then Mestemaker and Rocco Becht at 11%. And the other poll. How do you feel about Notre Dame? We didn't get into this because of time. So Notre Dame and USC after 2030 are apparently no longer going to continue their series, their football series that's lasted for decades. And Notre Dame's already scheduled Brigham Young. God, I haven't done BYU home and away as on their schedule. I saw a quote from Keyshawn Johnson, who is furious, a former USC All-American, furious with USC, saying that we have too many people who are making these decisions who are not from USC and they don't get it. And so that rivalry, which Notre Dame wants to play it later in the year like they always have, and USC wants to play it now before the Big Ten schedule because they've now changed to a different conference. It's not going to happen. It looks like it's done. And terrible 44% leads the way.
I mean, yeah, and you forgot to mention that Notre Dame's now replaced that game already, and they had the big announcement about playing BYU now. So
I just said that.
Oh, I didn't think you said that. I don't think you did, but if you did, my apologies. So, yeah, they're going to play BYU now, and that's a great series, and so you can't say that they're shying away from competition. It's not they unloaded USC to go play Southern or any other directional school. They're playing BYU now in a home and home. So the Irish aren't ducking anybody. And I do think that USC, if Keyshawn's saying that, and you just kind of go off of sort of Lincoln Riley and how they appear as though they're going to try to just do the simplest possible route to the playoff. Oh, like there's a reason to not play tough teams because losses hurt. Oh, we'll cancel the Notre Dame series. I don't think they come across well in this, especially if your own very outspoken alumni are also coming out against you publicly. So, yeah, USC seems kind of soft. I mean, there's more devil in the details, obviously. It takes two to tango. But I think Notre Dame pivoting immediately and announcing this BYU series makes them look a lot better in this scenario than USC looks.
Yeah, plus, of course, they were going to play them in the bowl game. So, yeah, they'll line that up, which is good to have that too. So thank you, Andrew, for the polls and the quizzes. 1 for 1 in the quizzes today, the poll results. Thank you to who get in there and vote. I vote every time as soon as I get on, the chat starts, I'll vote for the first poll and then eventually the second one. Logan Bagesti, thank you. Andrew Valade, thank you. Brandon Rowe and Garrett Ross back again tomorrow. We're on from 3 until when we're done. Tomorrow from like 3 until 5:30 or so. And we do appreciate all of you. And what a day was for the Super Chat. I just cannot thank everybody enough, and neither can the guys behind the scenes who also will be a part of getting that from Kim Coulter and Retired Stockbroker. I can't go over everybody because so many of you contributed. We do appreciate it. Craig, thank you very much. Tomorrow, back at it at 3. Have a great night. This is 365 Sports.